Chapter 251. The rain stopped, but there was a cold chill. The atmosphere outside the bedchamber was extremely solemn. Hua Qing suddenly laughed. He looked at these officials and said coldly, "Speak, what do you want to do?" "Your Majesty, we just want you to mend your ways and kill the evildoer to restore order." The Grand Preceptor did not budge an inch. Hua Qing sneered. His aura was very frightening. "What if I don't? I am the son of heaven, but I can't even protect the woman I love. I am a useless emperor. Your Majesty, you are carrying the people of the Yen Kingdom. Even if we die, we will lead you to the right path." The imperial censor said loudly to Hua Qing. Hua Qing's expression was very cold. "If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Hua Qing pulled out the large knife hanging from the waist of the guard beside him. With lightning speed, he stabbed the knife into the imperial censor's stomach. It happened too quickly. Everyone was shocked. The imperial censor who was stabbed said with difficulty, "Your Majesty, please kill the evildoer. With this evildoer here, the Yen Kingdom will not be safe." Hua Qing's face was livid with anger. He had actually helped the imperial censor achieve his eternal reputation. He was afraid that future generations would remember this official who had died for his remonstrance and was killed by him. Hua Qing's hand holding the knife trembled. His head was buzzing and cold sweat broke out on his back. Ning Shu was also shocked by Hua Qing's actions. He quickly said to Qing Zhu, "Quickly call the Grand Preceptor. Don't let anything happen to Lord Wang." Qing Zhu quickly turned and ran. Ning Shu did not expect Hua Qing to make a move. The little fox was indeed his reverse scale. He would go crazy when others touched him. The imperial censor who was killed spat out blood. Until his last moment, he tried to persuade Hua Qing. "Your Majesty, please kill the evildoer. Kill the evildoer." Before the imperial physicians could arrive, Lord Wang had already breathed his last. His blood flowed into the distance along with the rainwater, and the guards immediately carried Lord Wang away. Ning Shu looked at Hua Qing with heavy eyes. When he turned his head, he saw the little fox covering her mouth in shock. He coldly said to the little fox, "The Emperor did such an irrational thing for you. If you really love the Emperor, you should end your own life. Don't make things difficult for the Emperor. The Emperor has labeled you as an incapable ruler." Ning Shu had only said it casually. He was sure that Little Fox would not dare to commit suicide. In essence, Little Fox was a selfish person. "Xiao Xiao, shut up." Hua Qing stood in front of the little fox with a knife dripping with blood. "Jin Ling is my beloved woman. No one in this world can hurt her." Ning Shu was speechless. "All right, as long as you're happy." Hua Qing's actions stunned everyone. The officials kneeling on the ground were livid. The Grand Preceptor was so angry that he staggered. His voice trembled as he said, "Your Majesty, you might as well kill this old official. If you kill all of us, the Yen Kingdom will be in danger." As the Grand Preceptor spoke, he began to cry. "Previous Emperor, this official has wronged you. I did not assist the Emperor properly and allowed the Emperor to be bewitched by the evildoer and do such a cruel thing. Your Majesty, the officials just want to know your stance. Why don't we lock up this vixen first?" Ning Shu walked in front of Hua Qing and bowed. "Shut up, Xiao Xiao. Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking." Hua Qing looked at Ning Shu with cold disgust. Ning Shu said aggrievedly, "Your Majesty, everything this concubine has done is for your Majesty. But in this situation, someone has to take a step back. Humph, lock up Jin Ling. Whether or not the next step is to kill her, I won't back down. Without Jin Ling, I don't want the throne or the Yen Kingdom." Hua Qing's gaze swept over Ning Shu's face like a sharp knife. "Oh my, so affectionate. So touching." Ning Shu cried as she pulled on Hua Qing's sleeve. "Your Majesty, this concubine is begging you. Don't make mistakes again. Huaqing waved his hand and shook off Ning Shu's hand. Xiao Xiao, stop pretending. I never had any feelings for you. Now you dare to have thoughts about my Jinling. If you want her life, I will kill you first. Huaqing raised the knife in his hand and stabbed at Ning Shu. Your Highness, be careful. Marshal Xiao and Ning Shu cried out in alarm. They wanted to stand up, but after kneeling on the ground for so long, their legs were numb. They could only watch as the knife stabbed at their granddaughter. Imperial Mother, quickly dodge. Hua Qingwang shouted at Ning Shu with all his strength. Ning Shu screamed and rolled on the ground. She used the most embarrassing posture to dodge Huaqing's knife. She looked at Huaqing with a shocked and sad expression. Your Majesty, are you going to kill this concubine? Huaqing's eyes were red. He tried to calm down, but there was a surge of anger in his heart that wanted to destroy everything. Huaqing knew he had fallen into a trap. Huaqing, don't. The little fox held Huaqing's hand and shook her head as she cried. Huaqing, don't kill for me anymore. I don't want to make things difficult for you. I can leave the palace as long as you live well. Huaqing quickly grabbed the little fox's shoulder. You are mine. I won't allow you to leave me. Ning Shu touched her already crooked hair and comforted the frightened Hua Qingwang. Now that things had developed to this point, it was even more impossible for the civil and military officials to keep the little fox. The little fox was terrified and wanted to run away, but Huaqing kept her by his side domineeringly. The little fox's heart was in a mess. She was so scared that her body was trembling. She cried and shouted at Huaqing, Huaqing, I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. No one can let you die. With me here, no one can hurt you. Huaqing hugged the crying little fox. Ning Shu felt his teeth ache. It was so boring to be all lovey-dovey. Your Majesty, if you want the evildoer to live, then please abdicate. This way, the evildoer will do the least damage to the Yen Kingdom. The Grand Preceptor threw caution to the wind and asked Huaqing to abdicate. We agree. Your Majesty, please abdicate. The officials knelt on the ground and said in unison. Huaqing's body shook and his teeth seemed to be chattering. So you were waiting for me here. You want to dethrone me. The Yen Kingdom belongs to the Hua family. This country was conquered by the Hua family. When did it become your turn to make decisions? We are all doing this for the future of the Yen Kingdom. If your Majesty doesn't want to abdicate, then kill the evildoer. I have lived for so long and don't have much time left. If I can do something for the Yen Kingdom in the end, I can say that I have fulfilled my duty to the late emperor in the afterlife. The Grand Preceptor didn't care about life and death. Huaqing felt cold all over. He just wanted to have a woman he loved. Why did these people have to be like this? They had to make him a high and mighty loner. Without there would be no joy to speak of. Now, there were two paths before Huaqing. If he wanted the throne, he couldn't have the little fox. If he wanted the little fox, he couldn't have the throne. Chapter 252. Now, Huaqing was deserted by everyone. For the woman he loved, he stood against everyone. No one objected to Huaqing doting on a woman, but there was a limit to everything. Once this limit was crossed, there would be repercussions. Huaqing's love for the little fox was without any principles or bottom line. He allowed the little fox to break the rules that everyone should abide by without restraint. Moreover, this love was built on the basis of hurting others. Everyone looked at Huaqing, including the little fox. At this moment, Huaqing felt as if he was standing on a mountain surrounded by cliffs, unable to advance or retreat. Huaqing gritted his teeth. The muscles on his face trembled and his eyes were red. His heart felt like it was being tortured in a pan of oil. Qin couldn't understand how things had turned out like this. This was a complete conspiracy. They were using the excuse of dealing with to deal with him. Qin swallowed hard. His expression was dazed, as if his soul was about to leave his body. Why? We'll discuss this matter later. Qin said with difficulty. We will give everyone an explanation for this matter. How will your majesty deal with this evildoer? Lord Wang is already dead and the empress almost lost her life. We can't just let this matter rest. Marshal Shao said agitatedly. Someone has to take responsibility for tonight's matter. Qin rubbed his forehead. He staggered and almost fell. The little fox quickly supported Qin. She looked at Qin with her watery eyes. Qin's heart softened when he saw her. Qin loved it when looked at him with such eyes. It was pure, beautiful, innocent, and clear. It was as if she had received the whole world. We'll talk about this later. Qin's face turned green and he couldn't stop trembling. Qin was forced into a corner by these people. He could only say, capture Jin Ling first. The little fox's eyes widened as she stared at Qin in a daze. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she complained, Qin, you gave me up for the throne. You keep saying that you love me but you gave up on me. Qin wanted to grab the little fox's hand, but the little fox took a step back. You gave me up. Qin felt as if someone was stabbing his heart with a knife. The pain was excruciating. He really wanted to tell the little fox that this was just a temporary measure. He would definitely not let anything happen to the little fox. But little fox had no idea what Qin was thinking. All she knew was that Qin had given up on her for the sake of power. Qin said he loved her, but he couldn't win against power. Qin, I hate you. This is your love for me. You want my life for the sake of power. The little fox wept silently. She looked especially miserable and beautiful. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu suddenly sympathized with Qin. How tiring was it to like someone whose thoughts were not on the same channel as yours? Any woman in the imperial harem would know what to choose now. As long as Qin was still the emperor, she would be fine. At the end of the day, women from ancient families were different from modern women. The little fox looked down on the ancient women, but from a certain point of view, the ancient women were much more sensible and intelligent than modern women. They were willing to make sacrifices for their own goals. Little Fox was acting as if she had been betrayed and was heartbroken. She simply couldn't understand. The ministers were probably shocked by Little Fox's actions. After kneeling for so long, they simply sat on the ground and looked at the two people. Hua Qingwang quietly asked Ning Shu, Mother, what will Imperial Father choose in the end? Qingwang, what do you think? Ning Shu asked Hua Qingwang. It's not worth giving up the throne for a woman, especially one like her. Hua Qingwang was silent for a moment. Finally, he concluded, Imperial Father will give up on her. Is that so? Ning Shu didn't deny it. Marshal Shao stood up and said, If your majesty can't make a decision, this old official is willing to make a decision for your majesty. This old official will kill this demoness for your majesty. After this, if your majesty wants to kill me, this old official will have no objections. Old man, don't you dare. Hua Qin stood in front of Little Fox and coldly shouted at Marshal Shao, Are you trying to rebel? In order to set things right, even if this official is accused of rebellion, this old official will have no regrets. Marshal Zhao's beard was white. When he said such words, it made people's hearts sour. It made Hua Qin seem even more foolish. Eunuch Qiu rushed over and said in Hua Qin's ear, Your Majesty, Marshal Zhao's army has taken control of the entire capital. The palace has been surrounded. Hua Qin's hand trembled. This day had indeed come. Hua Qin regretted not getting rid of the Shao family earlier. Now, He was being harmed instead. Now that things had developed to this point, there were no three paths for Wuxia to take. Wuxia looked at the heartbroken little fox and the aggressive ministers. It was as if all his strength had been sucked away. He felt indescribably helpless. Can I send this woman away? Wuxia was already showing weakness by saying this. The ministers shook their heads. This woman is a demoness. If she's not of our race, we will kill her. If she harbors resentment, it will also be harmful to the Yan kingdom. Wuxia, I was wrong about you. I thought you truly loved me, but you did it for the throne. Little Fox shook her head with tears streaming down her face. She looked as if she couldn't accept it. Okay, I'll leave. I don't want to see you again. She came to the ancient times and fell in love with a man, but this was the result. Little Fox clutched the front of her clothes in pain. Little Fox was in pain, but Wuxia was in even more pain. Hearing Little Fox's words was like cutting his heart. This woman had already integrated into every corner of his body. She was a part of him. Wuxia couldn't imagine what it would be like without Little Fox. Mother is betting that your imperial father will choose Little Fox, Ning Shu said quietly to Wuxia. Wuxia immediately frowned. His expression was especially serious. He shook his head like a little adult. How can that be? It wasn't easy for imperial father to ascend to the throne. How can he give it up so easily? Back then, the fight for the throne was so tragic. In order to ascend to the throne, Wuxia married Xiao Xiao. But now, he had to give up the throne for a woman. Even Wuxia felt that it wasn't worth it. But if he didn't do this, how could he show Wuxia's love for Little Fox? Veins popped out on Wuxia's forehead. Ever since he ascended to the throne, he had never been in such a sorry state. He was really in such a sorry state. He was forced to this extent. I give up the throne, Wuxia said through gritted teeth. His gums were bleeding. I give up the throne. The ministers, Wuxia, everyone looked at Wuxia in a daze. They looked at him as if he was crazy. He had lost his mind. Little Fox looked at Wuxia sadly and was stunned. Her tears suddenly burst out like a dam. She murmured, Wuxia, for you, everything is worth it. Chapter 253. Wuxia gave up the throne. No matter how the ministers persuaded him, it was useless. Wuxia took the opportunity to say that if the little fox stayed by his side, he would continue to be the emperor. The ministers immediately calmed down and didn't say anything. Wuxia had no choice but to give up the throne. Otherwise, the little fox would die. Now that the entire palace was surrounded, he was like a crab with its claws tied. He couldn't bear to let Hu-Er get hurt. Seeing the tears of joy and the deep affection in Hu-Er's eyes, Wuxia felt that it was worth it. Perhaps he and Hu-Er would have a different life. In the end, Wuxia and the little fox were restrained in the bedchamber. Wuxia's eyes landed on Ning Shu. He said coldly, Empress, you are the one who brought disaster to the Yan kingdom. Ning Shu didn't understand. She said with grievance, I don't understand what you are talking about, Emperor. You led the wolf into the house. Your Xiao family wants to be the master of this country. You have wild ambitions. I have always been on guard against your Xiao family. I didn't expect you to be one step ahead. I missed a good opportunity. Wuxia looked at Ning Shu with disgust. I have always hated you. Back then, it was as if I begged to marry you. I have always hated you. I should have strangled Wuxia. Ning Shu bowed and said lightly, Thank you, Your Majesty, for tolerating Qinxia for so many years. Back then, Qinxia did not force Your Majesty to marry Qinxia. Instead, Your Majesty married Qinxia for the throne. Qinxia has nothing to feel wronged about, so why should Your Majesty feel wronged? Not to mention, your majesty has been using Qinxie since the beginning. Then, were you the one who planned tonight's incident? Hua Qing's poisonous eyes scraped Ning Shu. Ning Shu shook her head. Your majesty, this matter has nothing to do with this concubine. This concubine is just a woman in the imperial harem. The people you look down on don't have the ability to move the court officials. Your majesty, you think too much. Ning Shu held Hua Qingwang's hand and left. Walking on the wet road, the rain seeped into their shoes and made them feel cold. Hua Qingwang looked at the empress's back. Her hair was messy, but she walked calmly. He had never understood this wife he had married as a decoration. When they returned to the bedroom, Ning Shu asked someone to boil water for a bath. It was not good to catch a cold. Hua Qingwang was a little depressed. How sad must Hua Qingwang be to hear his father say that he should be strangled when he was born. Qingwang, you don't need to mind your imperial father's words. This kind of person doesn't deserve to be a father. Ning Shu patted Qingwang's head. No matter what, imperial mother will protect you. Hua Qingwang raised his head. He looked at Ning Shu and said, Mother, I feel bad for you. You've done so much for father, yet father treats you like this. Ning Shu smiled. Hearing this, his heart felt warm. Because your imperial father doesn't like your imperial mother. He likes little fox. He can do anything for little fox. Does imperial father not have any sense of responsibility and justice for imperial mother? Hua Qingwang looked at Ning Shu and asked. Imperial father has gone crazy. See, even a child knew this. But Hua Qingwang had fallen into his own fantasy of a beautiful love. He only wanted the beauty and not the country. Who knew if he would regret it in the future? Hua Qing gave up the throne, and the country also gave up on him. Hua Qing and Little Fox were sent out of the palace. They lived in a spacious manor. Many people were sent to guard it. Hua Qingwang was now the retired emperor. No one could stop the love between him and Little Fox. As Hua Qing's only son, Hua Qingwang would inherit the throne. After Hua Qing left the palace, Hua Qingwang would inherit the throne in 3 days. The palace was bustling with activity. The sound of bells rang out. Ning Shu wore a palace robe embroidered with gold and silver luan birds and a phoenix coronet. He held Hua Qingwang's hand, who was wearing a dragon robe and a crown with 12 beads. Under the worship of hundreds of officials, they walked step by step toward the gilded dragon throne. Hua Qingwang tightly pursed his lips. He walked step by step steadily. His lips were tightly pursed, and his expression was serious. Ning Shu wore flame-red makeup. The ends of his eyes were raised, making him look fierce and aggressive. He stepped on the steps and walked up step by step. Hua Qingwang sat on the dragon throne. His legs couldn't even touch the ground, but his back was straight. He looked abnormally solemn. Ning Shu sat on a chair next to him and gave Hua Qingwang an encouraging look. Long live the emperor! The hundreds of officials knelt down. Their voices were loud and clear. Hua Qingwang's voice was a bit tender. It even trembled slightly. He said loudly, Everyone, pay your respects. Ning Shu watched from the side. Seeing Hua Qingwang's appearance, he felt relieved. At least he didn't become a useless prince like in the plot. Perhaps Hua Qingwang could become a good emperor. In a high position, even if he had power, he couldn't be too willful. Hua Qingwang made the Grand Preceptor the head of the cabinet. Marshal Xiao handed over his military power. Hua Qingwang held the commander's seal and compensated Marshal Xiao by making him the Duke of Zhen. His descendants had the right to inherit the title. Since then, the Grand Preceptor and Marshal Xiao's families dominated the court. In addition to Hua Qingwang's military power, they formed a stable triangle. The distant sound of the bell spread throughout the capital. Hua Qing stood in the courtyard and looked in the direction of the palace. The little fox was nestled in Huaqing's arms. She looked at Huaqing and said, "Do you regret giving up the throne?" Huaqing lowered his head and kissed the little fox's forehead. He said, I told you. You are the most important thing to me. Huaqing, meeting you is my greatest fortune." The little fox hugged Huaqing's neck. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed Huaqing's lips. Huaqing hugged the little fox tightly. He had nothing left but the little fox. From now on, she was his everything. Huaqing kissed the little fox passionately. He tried not to let himself regret. After a series of complicated ceremonies, Ning Shu finally accompanied Hua Qingwang through the process of ascending the throne. She was exhausted. Hua Qingwang's face was pale. Ning Shu quickly had someone prepare hot water for washing up. After the two of them washed up, Hua Qingwang looked at Ning Shu in a daze and asked, "Mother, I am now the emperor." Ning Shu looked at her silly face and smiled. "Yes. You are now the emperor. You need to call yourself I, okay? Mother, I will protect you from now on. I will never let you get hurt again." Hua Qingwang hugged Ning Shu and gritted his teeth. Ning Shu patted him on the back. She felt Hua Qingwang cry. She immediately said, "Don't cry. Qingwang, no one will be able to hurt you anymore. With Qingwang protecting me, no one will dare to bully me." Hua Qingwang wiped away his tears and said, "But father, don't worry about your father. He is no longer the master of this country. He gave it up himself." Ning Shu said calmly. "As long as I am here, no one will be able to hurt you. Not even your father. I should be the one protecting you now. I hope you won't be sad for my father." She wasn't sad at all. Really. Chapter 254. Hua Qingwang handed the commander's seal to Ning Shu, but Ning Shu did not accept it. He said to Hua Qingwang, "Emperor, from now on, this is yours. Keep it safe. This commander's seal is what you rely on. If you encounter any problems, ask the officials for advice. Mother will retire in the back palace." Hua Qingwang smiled and said, "Imperial Mother is not old at all. If Imperial Mother wants to live with Imperial Father, it is possible. Please don't. Your father hates me to the bone. I don't want to go. My days in the back palace are comfortable." Ning Shu quickly waved his hand. "Emperor, you are the ruler now. Emperor, you are now the ruler of all the people. You must think twice before you do anything. Learn more from your teacher. The imperial court pursues the doctrine of the mean. There must be a limit to everything. Mother Empress wants to say so much. You must keep the commander's seal. You must not be deceived by others. This is what you need to settle down and live your life." Ning Shu wanted to reach out and pat Hua Qingwang's head, but he remembered that Hua Qingwang was now the emperor. It would not be good to touch him. Hua Qingwang grabbed Ning Shu's hand and placed it on his head. He said, "I know Mother has done a lot for me. I hope Mother can be happy. Mother used to say this to me. Now, I hope Mother can be happy." Hua Qingwang's eyes were watery and sincere as he looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Mother is very happy." Although Hua Qingwang had become the emperor, he did not have the right to make decisions in the court. Hua Qingwang was not in a rush. He was slowly learning. Most of the court matters were decided by the old Grand Tutor. For a time, he was very powerful. However, the old Grand Tutor did not dare to be too arrogant. First, the emperor had military power. Next to him was the Duke Zhen. There was also the Empress Dowager, who did not seem to care about the back palace. Greetings to the Empress Dowager. Royal Noble Consort Xian, no, Royal Noble Consort Ning Shu, bowed. "Why don't you take good care of your body? You look thinner than before." Ning Shu looked at her and asked. Now that she was able to eat and sleep well and didn't need to scheme against each other, her days were too comfortable. Thus, when Ning Shu saw Imperial Noble Consort Xian's haggard appearance, he felt a sense of disappointment. Many thanks for the Empress Dowager's concern. As long as this concubine wants that demoness, it's like a fishbone in this concubine's throat. This concubine's heart is filled with hatred. Imperial Concubine Xian said hatefully, Imperial Concubine, back then you said that you could take revenge. But now, that demoness is still alive and well. Ning Shu looked at her. Speaking of which, it was all thanks to Imperial Noble Consort Xian that they were able to cooperate with the Imperial Tutor's residence. The influence of the Imperial Tutor's residence was weakening in the Imperial Court. Furthermore, they did not have any outstanding descendants. They had originally hoped that the Imperial Noble Consort in the palace would be able to give birth to a successor. If they gave it a shot, they might be able to bring their clan back to glory. It wasn't easy for her to get pregnant, but in the end, she had a miscarriage. Furthermore, her body was severely injured, and she wouldn't be able to get pregnant in the future. Ning Shu promised that as long as Hua Qing was defeated and Hua Chengwang ascended the throne, the Imperial Tutor would enter the cabinet and become the Grand Secretary. This position could be considered the highest rank among the civil officials. The Imperial Tutor agreed. Furthermore, if a little radish ascended the throne, his authority would naturally be greater. The Imperial Tutor probably didn't expect that the Shao clan would actually hand over their military power. With the military power in the hands of the Emperor, the throne would be even more stable. Out of self-preservation, the Shao clan wanted to pull Hua Qing down. The reason why the Shao clan wasn't willing to hand over their military power was because they knew that Hua Qing was afraid of the Shao clan. However, handing over the military power meant death. Without the military power, the Empress and the little prince in the imperial harem would probably not be able to protect themselves. The military power was actually a hot potato, but they had no choice but to hold on to it tightly to save their lives. Death isn't the best outcome. You don't have to be too anxious. Ning Shu said, not all love is so strong. Their love might not be as beautiful as imagined. Let's go out of the palace and take a look. Ning Shu suddenly wanted to see how Hua Qing and the others were doing. The little fox's life was saved, but she couldn't leave the retired emperor's residence. It could be said that the two of them were under house arrest. When Ning Shu and the imperial concubine arrived at the retired emperor's residence, the little fox's voice came from inside. She was shouting at Hua Qing, I'm too bored. I want to go out and play. I'm afraid we can't go out. There are people guarding outside. Hua Qing's voice said lightly. The little fox said indignantly, they are illegally restricting other people's freedom. This is against the law. Hua Qing didn't say anything. The retired Empress Dowager has arrived. The imperial concubine has arrived. The eunuch shouted in a sharp voice. Ning Shu and the imperial concubine walked in. Ning Shu saw that the little fox's stomach was slightly bulging. He hadn't noticed during this period of time, but the little fox was actually pregnant. However, it didn't seem to be very far along. When the imperial concubine saw the little fox's bulging stomach, her body trembled. Her expression was extremely bad. When Hua Qing saw the bright and beautiful Ning Shu, she said coldly, what are you doing here? Ning Shu looked around the room and finally nodded. It seems like the retired emperor's living environment is not bad. Seeing the two women, the little fox immediately covered her stomach and hid behind Hua Qing. The previous incident of the forced abdication had made the little fox tremble. Now that she saw Ning Shu, the little fox's heart trembled. In addition, Hua Qing often said that his throne was taken away by the empress. The little fox was quite afraid of this evil empress. So what if she was powerful? How could a woman whose husband didn't love her be happy? Your Shao family supported a puppet emperor. Are you going to usurp the throne soon? Hua Qing looked coldly at Ning Shu. Her lips were extremely red and her makeup was extremely sharp. It felt like one would be suppressed by her aura if they stood in front of her. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. My Xiao family has already given up their military power. Qinhuang is not some puppet emperor. Your Xiao family handed over their military power. Hua Qing's expression was somewhat shaken. Ning Shu smiled. Her face was like a slowly blooming rose with thorns, beautiful and piercing. You schemed to take the Xiao family's military power, but now your son has effortlessly obtained it. Hua Qing pursed her lips. As long as the country is still in the hands of the Hua family. You are now the retired emperor. You don't have to worry about the country's affairs. Ning Shu smiled. I wish you all happiness. Ning Shu turned and left. She could tell that Hua Qing wasn't doing well. There was a hint of depression between her brows that couldn't be dissolved. When a man's power was taken away, his glory would be reduced by more than half. Knowing that you all aren't doing well, I feel much better. On the way back to the palace, Imperial Consort Xian's face was gloomy. Ning Shu knew that she wasn't willing to accept it, but Ning Shu didn't want to care. Whatever Imperial Consort Xian wanted to do, Ning Shu wouldn't stop her. Not long after, news of the little fox's miscarriage came. The little fox had a playful personality to begin with. In the end, she fell down the stairs and reddened on the spot. Hua Qing almost went crazy. Even so, the little fox still miscarried. Chapter 255. Ning Shu felt that little fox's miscarriage must have been caused by Grand Concubine Xian, but Ning Shu did not say anything and pretended not to know anything. After little fox's miscarriage, she lay on the bed with a blank expression. Hua Qing hugged little fox and kept telling her that she would have a child in the future. Little fox looked at Hua Qing. His face was much thinner and his eyes were filled with worry and love. But for some reason, little fox felt sick of it and was even glad that the child was gone. If she really lived like a hostage in the retired emperor's residence with Hua Qing, what joy would there be in such a life? Seeing Hua Qing every day really made her feel a little bored. Little fox felt that her love for Hua Qing had entered a period of weakness. There was nothing new about it anymore. Little fox wanted to go out for a walk. Was her ancient life like this? To be imprisoned in the retired emperor's residence for the rest of her life. Little fox also felt that Hua Qing was far less charming than before. What she loved was not power and money, but power and money were definitely the embodiment of charm. Men were only charming because of their career. But Hua Qing had been stripped of his position as emperor and his halo had been stripped away. Little fox felt suffocated at the thought of living a mediocre life in the retired emperor's residence for the rest of her life. She wanted to escape from this prison. Hua Qing clearly felt the change in little fox's attitude towards him, but he did not say anything. He had given up everything except for little fox. No matter what, he had to capture little fox. She was the only thing left in his life. Without the throne, his wife and son were like enemies. His life was so lonely that little fox was the only thing left. Hua Qing treated little fox better and better, but the more Hua Qing was like this, the more frustrated little fox was and the more she wanted to leave this suffocating place. Hua Qing was depressed all day. Looking at the palace, he felt a little regretful. He was supposed to be the high and mighty emperor. Why couldn't the throne and little fox coexist? Hua Qing and little fox began to argue. Little fox cried and threw a tantrum to leave, but Hua Qing could not let her go. If little fox left, everything he had done and given up would be meaningless. In any case, he couldn't have a peaceful day. When Ning Shu found out that little fox had escaped from the retired emperor's residence time and time again, only to be caught by the people who were monitoring her, he was so angry that he almost went crazy. Hua Qing did not care about it, but there was only resentment between the two. Hua Qing complained that Little Fox did not understand him, and that he had sacrificed so much for Little Fox, but Little Fox complained that Hua Qing was selfish, trapping herself in such a place and making life boring. It was only then that Hua Qing truly felt the difference in Little Fox. No other woman was as passionate about running outside as Little Fox. Other women and women would never step out of the house, but Little Fox would die if she stayed at home. Ning Shu smiled faintly. He seemed to be extremely loyal, but he couldn't withstand the ravages of time and details. The giant wheel of love sank just like that. Ning Shu called Hua Chenwang to the palace for a meal. Now that her mission had been completed, it would not be long before she left this world. Before she left, she wanted to have a meal with her temporary son. Hua Chenwang grew very quickly. He was already at Ning Shu's chin. He ate everything during meals, but he didn't eat much. No one could tell what he liked to eat or what he disliked to eat. He hid his preferences so that no one would know about it. Ning Shu placed Hua Chenwang's favorite food on his plate and said to him, "Mother's Chenwang will definitely be a good emperor. Your son will not disappoint mother's expectations." Hua Chenwang said very seriously. Ning Shu smiled and said, "I hope that in the future, when you have a woman you like, it's okay to dote on her. Don't ever be like your father, who only left behind exhausted ashes in the end due to overly intense feelings. A gentle flow of water is beautiful. Most importantly, don't fall in love with a woman who is too stupid. Your son understands. If I have a woman I like in the future, I will definitely let mother take a look." Hua Chenwang nodded and said with a smile, "With father's example, your son does not dare to fall in love with women. As long as you have a sense of propriety." Ning Shu said. Finally, he patted Hua Chenwang's head and said, "Chenwang, good luck." After the meal, Hua Chenwang left. Ning Shu lay on the bed and took a nap. Ding, Ning Shu, moi, did you miss me? 2333's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Ning Shu said, "Scram. Humph, would it kill you to be nicer to me?" 2333's voice sounded very wronged. Mission completed, leave Ren world. Ning Shu's head buzzed and then he did not feel anything. When he woke up, he was in the dimensional space. He looked down at his soul. Although it was a bit dim, it was not as exhausted as before. 2333 system, sir, see how many points I have this time. Okay. Ning Shu's status panel appeared in front of him. Number, 23333 name, Ning Shu age, 27 experience, 80000600000 soul, 200 HP, 50 wisdom, 85 charm, 3 luck, 34 spirit, 120 martial strength, 10 aptitude, 26 merit, 5 skills, 5 ring spear technique, trash fighting technique, trash entry level peerless martial arts honorary title, goddess of war, mother of the world, queen's blessing, mission completion, 100. Received 10 attribute points. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and asked 2333, what the hell is this mother of the world aura? You changed Hua Chenwang's fate. The original owner, Xiao Xiao, is grateful to you. You have the halo of being the mother of the world. Actually, this is the original owner giving you some of the people's faith. He also gave you some of his luck. That good? Ning Shu was a bit surprised. With 60,000 points and 10 attribute points, the biggest reward was probably this mother of the world aura. Ning Shu added the 10 attribute points to his HP and luck. Number, 23333 name, Ning Shu age, 27 experience, 140000 soul, 200 HP, 505 wisdom, 85 charm, 3 luck, 345 spirit, 120 martial strength, 10 aptitude, 26 merit, 5 skills, 5 ring spear technique, trash fighting technique, trash entry level peerless martial arts honorary title, goddess of war, mother of the world, queen's blessing, Ning Shu, you can do it. Now you have 140,000 points. Wait for 200,000 points and you can open the beginner system mall. Beginner system mall. Is there an advanced system mall? Ning Shu asked. 2333's tone was filled with longing. The best is still the super system mall. There are all kinds of treasures in there. I've seen someone exchange for a plane. Those who can open the super system mall are like gods. It's good that you can open the beginner system mall. Damn, I can't imagine. Chapter 256. Ning Shu counted with his fingers when he would be able to open the system store. He estimated that he would only need to do one more quest before he could open it. Suddenly, he was filled with fighting spirit. Once he opened the system store, he would be able to exchange for soul training. He wouldn't have to train like a tortoise anymore. Every time he stayed in the quest world, his soul would be greatly depleted. Ning Shu, do you have a quest to complete? 2333 Ning Shu asked. Ning Shu asked, what's a quest? It's a quest to make the target fall in love with you. 2333 explained. Ning Shu was speechless. Ha ha ha, fall in love with me. Ning Shu pointed at his own nose. With my 3 points of charm, do you think I can make someone fall in love with me? Don't belittle yourself. You're actually quite handsome. 2333 said, besides, you're using the body of the defiant attacker. You're using your soul to conquer him. Ning Shu waved his hand. I'm not going. Why not? 2333 was puzzled. This quest is very popular. It wasn't easy for me to get it. It's also very easy. This quest is easy. How can it be easy? Ning Shu's expression was calm. It's to make someone fall in love with someone else, 2333 quickly said, that's right. You just have to make the target fall in love with you. It's better than fighting and killing. It's easier and easier than the tiring quests. Fall in love with me or the original owner? Ning Shu frowned. 2333 immediately said, of course it's the original owner. If not, why would the target pay the price to be conquered? Ning Shu, is there something wrong with your brain? Can't you understand something as simple as this? Ha ha ha, you're the one with something wrong with your brain. The original owner and I are not the same person. After I left, the original owner returned to his body. How can love be gained through a quest? Ning Shu waved his hand. I'm not going to do this quest. Can a relationship gained through someone else's quest last? She could leave the mission world without any reluctance because she didn't have any emotional entanglements with the people inside. Love was mutual. It wasn't as if you could win someone's heart by doing a few things. You also had to give your heart. This kind of thing is the most mysterious. Even the true love between the male and female lead can be torn apart, let alone this kind of illusory love. Since the Wish Master wanted to use her soul power to make the target fall in love with her, it meant that the target didn't love the Wish Master at all. Ning Shu felt that she didn't have the ability or charm to make the man fall in love with her. If he didn't love her, then he didn't love her. Emotional debt was the hardest to repay. Furthermore, using such a method to get close to the target meant that this relationship wasn't simple from the start. 2333 system, don't give me this kind of quest in the future. I can't do it, Ning Shu said directly. Ning Shu would rather do some fighting and killing quests. At least he felt happy. Alright, you really don't know how to appreciate my kindness. I think you're working too hard on the quests. You can make simple quests so complicated. Take the Empress quest for example. You can totally woo the Emperor Huqing. With Huqing around, nothing will be a problem, 2333 said. In the end, you made it so complicated. You formed factions and usurped the throne. Aren't you tired? Ning Shu was speechless. I'm happy. Do you want to sleep with me and Huqing? Do you really think the Empress wants to see another woman in her body sleep with her husband? Ning Shu dared to guarantee with his own head that if she really slept with Wuxia, the Empress would never give her the halo of being the mother of the world, even if this man had wronged her a lot. However, if her husband fell in love with someone suddenly appeared and slept with her, it would be even more humiliating for the Empress. 2333, you're a system after all. You don't understand humans, and you don't understand human women. This kind of creature is so complicated that it will burn your main brain, Ning Shu said disdainfully. 2333, don't give me this kind of quest in the future. I can't do it. Ning Shu reiterated again. He didn't want to do this kind of quest that was deceptive. It was too tiring. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. After some time, Ning Shu opened his eyes. He saw that his soul had become thicker and felt a sense of accomplishment. 2333, let's start the quest, Ning Shu said as he stood up. 2333 said weakly, okay. He was probably dissatisfied with Ning Shu's rejection. Ning Shu also felt that rejecting 2333 was too stiff. He wanted to say something, but his mind went blank and then he lost consciousness. When Ning Shu woke up, he found that his body was flying. Then, he fell to the ground with a bang. He was in so much pain that he couldn't stop breathing. His body was about to fall apart. A hot and sticky liquid surged up his throat. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn, what's going on? It's so painful. Niece, aren't you a little too vicious? A man's voice was filled with resentment. Uncle Wei, it's hard to avoid accidental injuries in a duel. If Hui Di makes you unhappy, you can punish her as you wish. A clear and cold female voice rang out. This voice was very pleasant to the ears, like the sound of spring water splashing on jade. The tinkling sound carried boundless coldness. Just by hearing this voice, one could imagine the appearance of a peerless beauty in one's mind. Ning Shu endured the pain in her heart. When she opened her eyes, she saw a woman in white. Her hair fluttered in the wind. Her face was covered by a thin veil, revealing her cold eyes and a forehead as bright as moonlight. Although she was wearing a veil, she could feel that the face behind the veil was definitely a peerless beauty. Cold like Chang-yi from the cold palace. Her temperament was ethereal. Seeing this woman, Ning Shu's brain didn't react. He said first, it's okay, it doesn't hurt. Motherfucker, it hurts so much. Wait, what's with this coarse male voice? Ning Shu quickly touched his chest. It's flat. Ning Shu didn't give up and touched his lower body. There was a lump hanging down there. Damn, what's going on? Shi Huidi saw this man doing such a vulgar action in front of her. She held the thin veil in her hand and prepared to hit Ning Shu again. Ning Shu still hadn't recovered from the shock of transmigrating into a man. He saw this woman with a veil swinging a cloth-like weapon towards him. Although it was a cloth, it carried a swift and fierce wind. It made Ning Shu feel as if he was facing a sword. Ning Shu couldn't move now. He quickly shouted, I admit defeat, I surrender. Ha! The sound of laughter came from below the stage. It was obvious that they were laughing at Ning Shu. Suddenly, there was a strong chi that knocked away Shi Huidi's cloth. A person stood in front of Ning Shu and stuffed a pill into his mouth. After swallowing the pill, Ning Shu felt much better. Chapter 257. After taking the pill, Ning Shu slowly got up from the ground and looked at the woman with a veil on her face. This woman was quite ruthless. She couldn't even move and didn't have the strength to fight back, yet she still wanted to hit her when she was down. The middle-aged man standing in front of Ning Shu also had an ugly expression. He glanced at the cold and cheerless Shi Huidi, then turned his head and snorted coldly at Ning Shu, exasperated that she had failed to meet his expectations. Ning Shu was dumbfounded. She could only lower her head. Her body really hurt. Her heart was hurt. How did she become a man? A man's body, a woman's soul, a transvestite. Hongmen sect versus Tiandao sect. Hongmen sect's Grandmaster Hui Di wins. The referee shouted. Ning Shu looked around. It was probably a competition between disciples of different sections. She was defeated by this woman called Shi Huidi. Looking at this woman, Ning Shu's heart was restless. This wasn't Ning Shu's feeling but the reaction of this body. The middle-aged man saw Ning Shu's expression and his face turned ugly. He poured out another pill from the jade bottle and stuffed it into Ning Shu's mouth. Go back to your room and heal yourself. If you don't cultivate properly in the future, this kind of shameful thing will happen again. Yes. Ning Shu responded. She had no idea where her room was, so she simply covered her chest and fell asleep on the ground, unable to get up. Ha! The crowd laughed again. The middle-aged man looked around coldly. Only then did the laughter die down. He ordered people to carry Ning Shu away. Ning Shu, who was carried to her room, was lying on the bed. She roared at 2333 in her mind. How did I become a man? I'm sorry. I located you wrongly. You know that I used a lot of energy to save you last time. 2333's voice was filled with guilt. Ning Shu, I'm short of breath. But this man is also a rebel. Since you transmigrated into his body, you should help him complete the task. 2333 said weakly. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't have any energy left. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu was at a loss. He was used to peeing while squatting. Suddenly, he had to stand up and take out something to pee. Ning Shu felt that he couldn't do it. With grief, anger, and helplessness, Ning Shu began to accept the plot. This was a world of cultivation, where the strong were respected and the weak were treated like dogs. The original owner was called Wei Liangyue, and people called him Prince Liangyue. His father was an elder of the Tiandao sect, and he was a true rich second generation. He had a lot of cultivation resources, but because of his powerful father, the original owner was always successful in the Tiandao sect. Even when he went out, people would give face to his father and not make things difficult for him. The original owner didn't like to cultivate at all. She was passionate about the matters between men and women. This kind of reputation spread out. Moreover, the original owner had a fiancée, Shi Huidi, who was on the stage before. The original owner really liked this fiancée. Shi Huidi looked like a human character. Even if the original owner had slept with so many women, he still liked Shi Huidi in his heart. However, the original owner was a useless man who relied on his father's protection. He was also a man who ruined many women. Shi Huidi hated this fiancée of hers. She even wanted to kill Wei Liangyue time and time again. This marriage was a marriage between the Hongmen sect and the Tiandao sect. To put it bluntly, Shi Huidi couldn't make the decision. However, she didn't want to marry such a man. The main character of this world was a male disciple of the Hongmen sect, Yi Yu. He was a man with great luck. His cultivation was like a cheat. Moreover, he could kill people above his level. All the geniuses would be killed in an instant in front of him. All kinds of fortuitous encounters and magic treasures were piled up on him. An outstanding man would always have many women by his side. Even Shi Huidi was awed by the brilliance of this junior brother. Moreover, Yi Yu loved every woman. He loved every woman. It was like he was collecting stamps. He took in all kinds of beauties and started the rhythm of a harem of 3,000 beauties. Yi Yu also liked this cold and fairy-like Shi Huidi. When he found out that his senior sister's fiancé was such a man, he loved Shi Huidi very much. He gave all the cultivation treasures he obtained to Shi Huidi. At first, Shi Huidi refused. However, She was moved by Yi Yu's words. Only when she was strong enough would she be able to escape from her fate. Shi Huidi hated that the original owner, Wei Liangyue, didn't work hard. She obviously had good cultivation resources, but she didn't care about anything. This world was very cruel. Without strength, there was no right to speak. The gap between her and Wei Liangyue would only get bigger and bigger. To put it bluntly, Shi Huidi was the bright moon in the sky and Wei Liangyue was the mangy dog on the ground. When Wei Liangyue found out that his fiancée was entangled with another man, he immediately brought people to deal with Yi Yu. However, he was humiliated by Yi Yu every time. Then, all the equipment on his body was plundered by Yi Yu. Wei Liangyue was simply Yi Yu's gift boy. Wei Liangyue and Shi Huidi were finally going to get married. During the wedding, Yi Yu flew into a rage because of the beauty and snatched Shi Huidi away. Meanwhile, Shi Huidi, who was about to become his wife, was crying in another man's embrace. She looked as though she was moved beyond words. This made Wei Liangyue so angry that his liver hurt. Wei Liangyue's father was very protective of his son. When he saw his son being humiliated, he wanted to kill Yi Yu. However, who was Yi Yu? He had divine artifacts, divine beasts, and all kinds of trump cards. Wei Liangyue's father, who had underestimated his opponent, was heavily injured. He snatched the bride in front of the Heavenly Tao sect and heavily injured an elder of the Heavenly Tao sect. This was simply slapping the Heavenly Tao sect's face. How would they still have the face to stay in the cultivation world? Therefore, he wanted to kill Yi Yu. No matter how powerful Yi Yu was, he was just a powerful junior. He couldn't be compared to an old ghost who had cultivated for a long time. When he was surrounded by so many people, Yi Yu was injured. In the end, he had to rely on his trump card to escape with Shi Huidi. Before he left, he even said that he would come back and destroy the sanctimonious Heavenly Tao sect. This marriage was ruined just like that. Wei Liangyue became a joke. His father was heavily injured. Yi Yu was very insidious, causing Wei Liangyue's father to die not long after. From then on, the original owner had no one to rely on in the Heavenly Tao sect. Those who flattered him in the past were now looking at him with cold eyes. How much they flattered him in the past was how much they mocked and trampled on him now. Wei Liangyue had tasted the warmth and coldness of the world. At this time, he wanted to cultivate diligently. However, he realized that he didn't have any cultivation resources. Cultivation was originally a path that went against the heavens. Wei Liangyue's aptitude wasn't that good. It was simply a fool's dream to want to find Yi Yu, who was better at cultivation. Only then did Wei Liangyue realize that without his father's protection, he couldn't even take a single step. When Yi Yu came back to take revenge, Wei Liangyue was eliminated by Yi Yu with a raise of his hand. It was as easy as blowing off dust. Looking at Shi Huidi who was standing together with Yi Yu, he shed tears of regret. He had lost everything for a woman. He lost his father, his woman ran away with someone else, and his former underlings were bullying him. Ning Shu lit a candle for this girl. Chapter 258. Wei Liangyue's wish, I don't want my father to die. His father lost his life because of him. He let down his father who loved him dearly. Ning Shu looked at this wish. It was only true between his father and family. There was no mention of revenge or Shi Huidi. The person that the original owner regretted the most was his father. Actually, this Wei Liangyue was just a small cannon fodder. He was just a small stumbling block on the male lead's path to glory. He was just a bug that prevented the male lead from hugging the beauty. He just needed to stomp him to death. Ning Shu sat up and started cultivating according to the original owner's memory. The original owner encountered all these things because he wasn't strong enough. If he was strong enough, Shi Huidi wouldn't have abandoned the original owner and thrown herself into the male lead's embrace. She would have shared a husband with someone else. Huidi was such a proud person, yet she actually shared a husband with someone else. Only strength was everything. When he circulated his qi, his meridians were very difficult and his chest was very painful. Ning Shu clutched his chest. Huidi was quite ruthless. However, Ning Shu stood from a woman's point of view and could understand Huidi. Marrying such a notorious second generation was like jumping into a fire pit. It was the original owner's fault for not living up to expectations. His chest was very painful. Ning Shu gave up on cultivating and lay on the bed to sleep. He was really too tired. Ning Shu was awakened by the urge to pee. When he opened his eyes, he saw a person standing at the bedside. Ning Shu didn't think of attacking this man. Damn, I was sleeping and you were actually watching from the side. Too horrifying. Ning Shu suddenly punched out, but the middle-aged man grabbed his fist. He couldn't pull it back no matter how hard he tried. Stinking brat, you're capable now. You actually attacked your father. When facing Huidi, you're acting like a coward. Useless thing. Wei Ming said in a bad mood. Ning Shu just remembered that he was a man. His bladder felt uncomfortable. Ning Shu said with a twisted face, "Father, can you leave first? Your son wants to go to the toilet." Then go to the toilet. Your father raised you since you were young. What place haven't you seen? Wei Ming sat on the chair. Ning Shu was speechless. She couldn't urinate in front of a man. Ning Shu felt like his bladder was about to explode. In the end, he left the room and found a secluded place. Trembling, he took out something and peed. After peeing, Ning Shu quickly fastened his pants and washed his hands many times. When he touched something soft, Ning Shu felt that his pure hands were going to rot. Ning Shu returned to his room and saw Wei Ming drinking tea. Wei Ming was tall and had the aura of an expert. Ning Shu walked in front of Wei Ming and said directly, "Father, I want to break off the engagement with Huidi." Ning Shu decided to generously help these two people. If they didn't get married, Yi Yu wouldn't come to steal the bride and Wei Ming wouldn't be injured by Yi Yu. Wei Ming's expression froze as he sized up Ning Shu. "Brat, have you been beaten silly by Huidi? Don't you like that girl a lot? She hates me. During the competition, she wanted to kill me. If it wasn't for the soft armor father gave me, I would have been killed by her." Ning Shu shook his head, "She doesn't like me." Wei Ming slammed the table, looking angry. "I said that Huidi is arrogant and not suitable for you. But you like her. The Rainbow Sect wants the Heavenly Tao Sect to develop the Yuan Crystal Vein, so they made this engagement. Yuan Crystal is a cultivation item in this world. It contains Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Cultivators absorb Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Yuan Crystal Vein is related to the rise and fall of a sect. This woman is vicious and merciless. Sooner or later, you will fall in the hands of this woman." As he said this, Wei Ming glared at Ning Shu as if he expected better from her. "Don't mess around with the impure female disciples of the sect." Ning Shu, "Then what about my engagement with Huidi?" Ning Shu was concerned about whether he could break off the engagement. Fighting with the male lead for a woman, he was simply impatient to die. Wei Ming looked at Ning Shu seriously. "How can marriage be so trivial? If you want to break off the engagement, then break off the engagement." Ning Shu opened his eyes wide and asked Wei Ming, "What should I do? Anyway, I don't want to be beaten by that woman Huidi. I'll go talk to the sect leader and see what the sect leader has to say." Wei Ming sighed, "When you have nothing to do, you should cultivate more. Huidi doesn't like you because you are useless. A man is despised by a woman, you don't feel embarrassed." "Okay, Dad. My chest hurts. Do you still have medicine?" Saying that his chest hurt to a man, this feeling was really good. When Wei Ming heard that his son's chest hurt, he directly pulled open Ning Shu's clothes. Ning Shu jumped in fright and hurriedly covered his chest. shouting, "What are you doing? Why are you covering your chest like a woman? Dad, let me see what's wrong with your chest." Wei Ming said unhappily. Ning Shu, damn, he felt like his three views were being challenged. Ning Shu put down his hand and looked down to see a clear palm print on his chest. No wonder his chest hurt so much. Wei Ming's expression was ugly as he coldly said, "Sherhuidi is really ruthless. Useless thing, every time I see this woman, my legs go soft." Wei Ming gave Ning Shu a bottle of pills. Ning Shu took the bottle and pitifully said to Wei Ming, "Dad, I don't want to be beaten to death by Sherhuidi. You must break off the engagement for your son." Ning Shu's eyes were red and he almost cried. The original owner acted like a spoiled child in front of his father like this. "How did I give birth to a thing like you? It's all because I spoiled you too much. From tomorrow onwards, you are not allowed to take a single step out of your room. Only when you become a spirit master can you come out. When that time comes, Dad will get you a contract beast." Ning Shu made an "oh" sound. In this world, there were many spirit beasts and even mythical beasts. With a contracted spirit beast, one's battle strength would be even stronger. For example, the male lead, Yi Yu, had a mythical beast. It was very powerful, but Yi Yu was very low-key. Usually, he would let the mythical beast disguise itself as a trash spirit beast so that it could pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. "Dad, don't forget about the engagement." Ning Shu shouted at Wei Ming's back. Wei Ming's strength was very strong. In the entire Tiandao sect, he was ranked at the top. Otherwise, how could Wei Liangyue, this second-generation ancestor, be like a fish in water in Tiandao sect? Wherever he went, there would be lackeys behind him. Ning Shu poured out a fragrant pill from the jade bottle and swallowed it. He felt a cool flow of energy in his body slowly healing his body. He used the little energy in his body to dissolve the pill. When the pill's effect disappeared, he stuffed another pill into his mouth. During this period of time, Ning Shu did not go out. He hid in his room to heal and cultivate. During this time, Wei Ming came to see his son. When he saw that his son was actually cultivating honestly and did not fool around with women, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out. He understood his son. He could not endure even a little bit of hardship. Now that he was willing to calm down and cultivate, it seemed like he was really stimulated by Sherhuidi. Chapter 259. Ning Shu really felt that this body's aptitude wasn't that good. Even after cultivating for a long time and receiving the crystals from Wei Ming, he still hadn't broken through to Spirit Master. Spirit Apostle, Spirit Master, Spirit Overlord. There were many more levels above that, but the original owner was just a beginner Spirit Apostle. He was so low that he actually dared to compete with Sherhuidi, who was a few levels higher than him. He was really looking for trouble. Could it be that he wanted to get closer to the goddess? It was too boring to stay in the room, so Ning Shu decided to go out for a walk. As soon as he went out, there were people greeting him and asking him if his injuries were better. Ning Shu looked at these people with disdain and ridicule, all kinds of envy, jealousy, and hatred. However, his words were very sincere. These people all knew that Wei Liangyue was generous and wanted to curry favor with him to get cultivation resources from him. Ning Shu felt that the original owner was quite pitiful. Only strength, great strength, could make others respect him. Even though the original owner was like a child that spread wealth in the Tiandao sect, he didn't make any true friends. Instead, others treated him like a fool. Also, because of Wei Ming, many people wanted to curry favor with him. It could be said that Wei Liangyue was living in a fake world. With Wei Ming's death, Wei Liangyue fell into the cruel reality. Along the way, he met female disciples. Some of them looked at Ning Shu with extreme disgust, while others looked at Ning Shu flirtatiously. They lifted their skirts to reveal their slender white thighs. They were just short of directly saying to Ning Shu, "Handsome, do you want a date?" Ning Shu's mood was very complicated. One day, he would be seduced by a woman. After wandering around, Ning Shu still felt that he should go back and cultivate. Facing all kinds of gazes, Ning Shu felt very stifled. Sitting on the bed, Ning Shu looked at the crystals in his hand. These crystals were a kind of transparent stone that contained impurities. They contained heaven-earth yuan qi that could be directly absorbed by people. Ning Shu suddenly thought of 2333's excessive energy consumption. This kind of heaven-earth yuan qi was also a kind of energy. He didn't know if it would be useful to 2333. 2333 system, sir, can you see if this crystal's energy is useful to you? Ning Shu called out in his heart. The energy level is too low. Thank you for your kindness. 2333 said directly. His disdain was obvious. Ning Shu, fuck. He felt as if he was asking to be humiliated. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have asked. Ning Shu, moi, if there is a suitable energy source, I will let you know, 2333 quickly said. Ning Shu absorbed the yuan qi from the crystal. After a long time, Ning Shu finally broke through the barrier of a spirit master and became a weak spirit master. The current Ning Shu could only be considered a beginner in cultivation. The yuan qi in his body would disappear after releasing a big move. After breaking through to spirit master, Ning Shu continued to cultivate. Wei Ming couldn't protect her all the time. If she was too weak, she could be killed in an instant if she wasn't careful. Then, her mission would fail. Wei Ming came over and saw that his son had finally become a spirit master. He was comforted and released a spirit beast from the spirit beast bag. Ning Shu said, "This will be your contract beast from now on." Ning Shu looked at the large eagle that was almost as tall as a person. It had a sharp beak and a pair of sharp eyes looking at Ning Shu. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but Ning Shu felt that the bird looked at her with disdain. Being disdained by others was one thing, but being disdained by a bird was another. "Dad, this is my contract beast." Ning Shu pointed at the large eagle. The image of the one-armed hero Yang Guo cuddling with the large eagle appeared in her mind. She didn't want a large eagle. Wei Ming patted the large eagle's closed wings and said, "This is a flash-winged eagle. It has a trace of the ancient Kun Peng's bloodline and is very fast. If you encounter any danger, the flash-winged eagle can carry you and escape." It seemed that Old Man Wei also knew what kind of character his son was. The contract beasts he prepared were all used for escape. Cold Moon, release your spiritual power and imprint it in the flash-winged eagle's consciousness, Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu as he helped Ning Shu control the flash-winged eagle that might resist. Ning Shu asked Old Man Wei with a confused face, "How do I do it?" She really didn't know how to contract a spirit beast. She had never experienced this kind of world before. Moreover, the original owner didn't have any knowledge in this area. Old Man Wei's old face suddenly darkened. "I told you not to mess around with women. You don't even know this kind of basic knowledge. If you embarrass yourself like this again in the future, don't say that you are my son. Concentrate and imprint your consciousness in the flash-winged eagle's consciousness." It was so abstract. Ning Shu was still a little confused, but she still focused her mind. Then, she thought about contracting this spirit beast. Then, a red dot and a white dot appeared in her consciousness. The two small balls of light resisted each other. Ning Shu controlled the white dot and merged it with the red dot with difficulty. She immediately felt that she had a connection with the flash-winged eagle and could do anything she wanted. It was as if she was ordering her arm. However, Ning Shu was exhausted. Her whole body was covered in cold sweat as if she had just been fished out of the water. When Old Man Wei saw that Ning Shu had finally succeeded, he smiled. However, when he saw Ning Shu's sorry state, he immediately said in a bad mood, "Look at you. You are really embarrassing your father. Okay, it was quite embarrassing. Keep this spirit beast bag. The flash wind eagle is usually in this bag. The flash wind eagle also needs to eat. If you have nothing to do, you can let it out and let it find its own food. If you find any good treasures, give it some to eat. It will be of great help to you when it grows stronger, Old Man Wei instructed Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. He took the spirit beast bag and opened it. He pointed at the flash wind eagle that was standing there motionlessly and said, "Go in." However, the flash wind eagle ignored Ning Shu. It still stood there motionlessly and stared at Ning Shu. "Go in," Ning Shu said again. "Aya." Old Man Wei slapped his forehead. Looking at Ning Shu's stupid appearance, he simply didn't know what to say. Directly giving orders to a spirit beast in your consciousness. I really want to turn you into a disgraceful brat. I should have shot you into the wall back then. Ning Shu, is it really okay to say such dirty words in front of your son? He had never entered this kind of world before. There was always a process of adapting to new things. Every time he entered a new world, it felt like he had to rebuild his worldview. Ning Shu gave the order to the flash wind eagle in his consciousness. Then, the flash wind eagle turned into a ray of light and entered the spirit beast bag. Ning Shu shook the spirit beast bag. The flash wind eagle that was so heavy and tall entered the bag, but the bag was still so light. It felt quite magical. Hanging the spirit beast bag on his waist, Ning Shu asked Old Man Wei, "Dad, how is the engagement between Shihuidi and I? What did the sect leader say?" This matter can be taken slowly. Although it is an engagement, the two sects are sincere in their cooperation. If we break off the engagement like this, the Hongmen sect will think that we want to tear up the agreement, Old Man Wei said. Then, he said to Ning Shu, "You brat, why are you so useless?" Ning Shu, Chapter 260. When Ning Shu heard that this matter was hopeless, he immediately felt bad. He quickly asked Old Man Wei, "Can't we cancel the engagement?" "It's impossible to cancel the engagement for no reason. The Hongmen sect will definitely demand an explanation. Then our Tiandao sect will be at a disadvantage. It will be very difficult for us to cooperate," Wei Ming said. He was an elder of the Tiandao sect and had to consider the interests of the Tiandao sect. However, when he thought of his only son being beaten up by his fiancée, he couldn't help but feel angry. Shihuidi was beautiful and talented. She was proud and arrogant. Even if Old Man Wei lied with his eyes wide open, he couldn't boast that his son was a top expert. Well, Ning Shu also knew that canceling the engagement was a bit difficult. He immediately said indignantly, "The Hongmen sect is much weaker than our Tiandao sect. Why do we need to cooperate to dig the Yuan crystal vein? We can dig it ourselves. Your table manners are too ugly. You won't go far." Old Man Wei patted Ning Shu's shoulder, causing half of Ning Shu's body to tilt. "Your father will deal with this matter. I can't let Shihuidi bully you like this. Useless thing. You were beaten up by a woman and you still need me to step in. The 18 generations of Wei clan's ancestors have all been lost by you." Ning Shu's expression didn't change as he listened to Old Man Wei's words. He only said, "I will definitely work hard and not lose face for you. In any case, it's impossible between me and Shihuidi. My talent isn't very good. Shihuidi is walking in front of me. Sooner or later, I will be left behind by her." Old Man Wei nodded his head in relief and then left. He left Ning Shu a lot of Yuan crystals and told Ning Shu to work hard in his cultivation. Ning Shu began a life of cultivation that didn't leave the house. The only thing that was more distressing was going to the toilet. Every time, he couldn't hold it in. His bladder was about to burst. Although there was a psychological barrier, at least he didn't have his period. But after so many years of having her period disappear just like that, she always felt like she owed something in her heart. It was painful when her period came, but when it didn't, she kept thinking about it. She was so cheap. Ning Shu was too lazy to complain about the original owner's aptitude. Even if she cultivated non-stop all day long, her progress was still very slow. Ning Shu relied on Old Man Wei's love and ran to ask Old Man Wei for a heavenly treasure that could change one's aptitude. The results of her one day of cultivation were not even comparable to the results of the male lead's one breath of time. The gap between them was like a chasm between heaven and earth. It was truly heartbreaking. Old Man Wei roared at Ning Shu, "Do you think heavenly materials and earthly treasures that can change one's aptitude are cabbages? If I had such a thing, I would have fed it to you long ago. Ning Shu, even Old Man Wei doesn't have such a thing. Yi Yu probably has it. Yi Yu's heaven-defying aptitude was accumulated from luck and fortuitous encounters. He definitely has a heavenly treasure that can change one's aptitude." But she couldn't beat the male lead. Was she supposed to let her father fight him? The reason she broke off the engagement was to prevent her father from coming into contact with Yi Yu. She was afraid that Old Man Wei would be injured by Yi Yu and steal the male lead's equipment. In the end, he would be killed by the male lead and give the equipment to the male lead. Her heart was so tired. It felt like she had been abandoned by the world. After a while, a secret realm will open. It's probably a senfu left behind by ancient cultivators. There are many things inside. Every sect will send their disciples in. When the time comes, I'll leave a spot for you. Go in and see if you're lucky enough to bump into a spirit herb that can change one's aptitude. Bump into it? Usually, she would bump into the male lead's arms. How could she bump into a cannon fodder? Am I going alone? Ning Shu looked expectantly at Old Man Wei with dark circles under her eyes. Old man, will you come with me? You won't be able to enter if your cultivation is too high. Old Man Wei rolled his eyes at Ning Shu. Don't worry. Other than the other disciples in Tiandao sect, I'll let the others take care of you. It was better to rely on herself than on others. What's more, if she encountered any treasures in the secret realm, not only would they protect her, they might even kill their fellow sect members. Cultivation was unscrupulous. Plundering the heavens and earth to replenish oneself. But Ning Shu still had to go. Cultivation was about not advancing or falling behind. One had to be strong enough to survive and complete the mission. Old man, does this senfu not have an owner? Ning Shu asked. No. All these years, no one has taken this senfu. Every sect has treated this senfu as a training ground for their disciples. Old Man Wei looked at Ning Shu. Once you enter, you must protect your own life no matter what. Old man, I know. Ning Shu nodded. He inexplicably felt that this senfu should be the male lead's fortuitous encounter. The male lead would take this senfu. If he could destroy Yi Yu's fortuitous encounter, that would be good too. Yi Yu hated the original owner for killing his father and stealing his wife. Although the original owner didn't ask for revenge, if he could do something for the original owner, the points would be higher. For the rest of the time, Ning Shu persevered in cultivation every day. While he was at it, he also cultivated a peerless martial art. In his body, a coiling dragon-like chi force was formed. The chi force and the chi force in his body each occupied a space in his dantian. They did not invade each other. This made Ning Shu feel that the chi force and the chi force were like spiritual chi. In order to prepare for the secret realm, Ning Shu made a lot of preparations. He even filled his storage bag with hidden weapons and poisons. During this time, Ning Shu let out the flash wind eagle whenever he had nothing to do. He fed it with Qi Jin crystals or spirit herbs with abundant Qi Jin. Under Ning Shu's feeding, the flash wind eagle finally changed its attitude towards Ning Shu. However, it still looked down on Ning Shu's strength. Strength, strength was very important. The cultivation world followed the law of the jungle. The strong were respected. Strength was the truth. Even a spirit beast looked down on him. When he reached the secret realm, he must find a heavenly treasure that could change his aptitude. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to escape the plot. Although his aptitude was poor, Ning Shu still cultivated day and night. At least he would gain something from his cultivation and slowly become stronger. A month later, when the secret realm opened, Old Man Wei came to pick up Ning Shu. The first thing he said was, "Your engagement with Shi has been annulled." Ning Shu didn't react for a moment. It was annulled so easily. So fast. Ning Shu only felt empty in his heart. The original Ning Shu still liked this Shi. When he heard the news, his body reacted like this. Old Man Wei rolled his eyes at Ning Shu. "For this matter, you know the price your father has to pay. Your father has to mine for 50 years. Ning Shu, father, you are an elder. How could you be sent to mine?" Ning Shu quickly asked with an anxious expression. Seeing his son's concerned expression, Old Man Wei's expression softened. He said, "Your father gave a set of cultivation methods to the Rainbow Sect. He also has to guard the Qijin crystal vein for 50 years. Ning Shu suddenly felt uncomfortable. Old Man Wei really loved his son. His son said that he wanted to annul the engagement and paid the price. Although the original Ning Shu's aptitude wasn't good, his father's love for him was the only warmth in his sad life. Therefore, he didn't want revenge, nor did he want Shi. He only wanted his father to live. Ning Shu slightly forced back the tears in his body. He said to Old Man Wei, "Father, thank you." Chapter 261. Ning Shu didn't expect that Old Man Wei would make such a sacrifice in order to break off the engagement. He was even punished by the sect to guard the crystal vein. Old Man Wei waved his hand, "Don't think that I didn't see that Rainbow Sect look down on you. They wanted to break off the engagement, but they were afraid that they wouldn't get a share of the crystal vein, so they dragged it out. I gave them a cultivation method, but they weren't satisfied. In a fit of anger, I said that I wanted to bring forward the wedding date so that you two could quickly get married. The fact that the Rainbow Gate had pulled out their most talented and promising female disciple for a marriage alliance showed that they cared a lot about this Yuan crystal vein. But if they really married their most promising female disciple to Wei Liangyue who had accomplished nothing, the people of the Rainbow Gate would still feel heartache. Now that Old Man Wei proposed to break off the engagement, he gave Rainbow Sect face. After receiving benefits from Old Man Wei, he still acted like a victim. It was a bit annoying. But at least now it had nothing to do with Shi. Whether she wanted to be with Yi Yu or Yi Yi, it had nothing to do with her. Thinking that he was going to marry a woman, even if it was a peerless beauty, Ning Shu still felt goosebumps all over his body. "Take off your clothes," Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately covered his chest. "What are you doing?" Old Man Wei frowned. "What are you doing? What's wrong with you recently? Always acting like a shy woman. Did you get beaten silly by Shi? Ning Shu immediately put down his hand and coughed. "Why are you taking off your clothes?" Old Man Wei took out a soft armor as thin as a cicada's wing from his storage bag and threw it to Ning Shu. "Wear this. It was made by your martial uncle. It should be able to avoid some injuries." "Thank you, father." In order to show off his heroic and manly temperament, Ning Shu stripped his upper body in front of Old Man Wei and put on the soft armor. "Let's go. The others are waiting. When we reach the secret realm, we must be careful." Old Man Wei walked in front. Ning Shu followed behind him and asked, "Father, is guarding the mine tiring?" "It's all right, it's just a little trivial," Old Man Wei said indifferently. Managing these things should be a waste of energy, and Old Man Wei wouldn't have time to cultivate. "Father, why don't you plead with the sect to not guard the mine? It will affect your cultivation. Father Wei turned around and watched Ning Shu as he raised his eyebrows, saying, "Brat, it's my first time to hear you say such sweet words to your father. Actually, your father is in a bottleneck. No matter how hard I cultivate, I'd better stop cultivating and do something else. Let nature take its course." Really? Ning Shu was in disbelief. How could it be fake? Old Man Wei said carelessly. Ning Shu thought that if Old Man Wei went to guard the pulse, he would definitely not be involved in this bullshit matter. It was a good result. As they spoke, they arrived at the plaza. There were many disciples gathered there, and a few of them were standing together. There were 4 men and 2 women. The surrounding disciples looked at the 6 of them with respect. Ning Shu knew from the original owner's memories that these 6 people were the more powerful disciples of the Tiandao sect. Each of them had a decent cultivation, unlike Wei Liangyue, who was just an embroidered pillow. Wei Liangyue knew that his cultivation wasn't high, so he didn't interact with these people. Moreover, these people always looked down on Wei Liangyue because of their high cultivation. Wei Liangyue must be crazy to come in front of these people. These people are going to the secret realm. You should follow them, Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked over, and the few of them took a few steps back. When the 2 female disciples looked at Ning Shu, their eyes were filled with undisguised disdain and vigilance. Ning Shu thought it seemed like he would have to carry this title until he died. Wei Liangyue, this damn brat, was really courting death. No matter where he went, the female disciples looked at him as if he was a pervert. This feeling was really strange. Old Man Wei asked the leading elder to take care of his son. The elder nodded. When they boarded the spirit ship, Old Man Wei pulled Ning Shu and said, "Nothing is more important than your life. If you encounter something that you can't solve, just sit on the Flash-Wind Eagle's back and run." "Father, I will remember. I will definitely come back alive," Ning Shu said seriously. However, Old Man Wei's face was still filled with worry. When the spirit ship was far away, Ning Shu saw Old Man Wei standing at the plaza and looking at him. To have such a father was really a blessing from 8 lifetimes. The leading elder, Ning Shu, said, "Although I don't know why your father let this good-for-nothing go to the secret realm, it's good. You should know that cultivation is difficult. If you continue like this, your cultivation won't be enough. When the time comes, you will die in front of your father and let him send you off." Ning Shu sweated. Everyone really didn't like Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue didn't feel anything. He just muddled along and was happy. "Thank you, elder. Liangyue understands." Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu sat on a chair in the cabin. She was surrounded by a kind of vacuum. Especially the 2 female disciples. They stayed far away from her as if they would lose their chastity if they stayed close to her. The original owner didn't force any of the women. It was all consensual. Just like the female disciples of the sect. If they sent themselves to his door, Wei Liangyue would be stupid not to take them. In the end, he would give them some cultivation resources. It was a matter of mutual benefit. However, he didn't expect his reputation to be so bad. The main reason was that he was engaged to Hongmen sect's female god teacher, Hui Di. This made Wei Liangyue even more unsightly. "Brother, I heard you and Hongmen sect's Sir Huidi broke off the engagement." A round-faced man came over and asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu knew from his memory that this person was called Lu Qinyang. His cultivation was ranked in the top few disciples of Tiandao sect. "How do you know? How did the news spread? Could it be Hongmen sect?" "No way. Sure, Huidi was a girl after all. Breaking off the engagement wasn't something glorious." Lu Qinyang opened his eyes wide and asked, "You really broke off the engagement? Did you break it on your own accord?" Lu Qinyang's words attracted the attention of several disciples. Ning Shu nodded and said, I did break off the engagement with Shi Huidi. Oh my, I said at the beginning that the marriage between you and Shi Huidi was going to break off. Hongmen's sect wouldn't let such an outstanding disciple like Shi Huidi marry you. It was completely a stopgap measure. Lu Qinyang slapped his thigh and excitedly said, now everyone has a chance. It's also because you are not worthy of her. Lu Qinyang didn't care about Ning Shu's feelings and directly said the truth. Ning Shu's heart was filled with anger. This was the original owner's emotion. Ning Shu said with an indifferent expression, even if I am not worthy of Shi Huidi, it is because I broke off the engagement with Shi Huidi. Chapter 262. Brother, in my opinion, you should have broken off the engagement long ago. Shi Huidi clearly doesn't like you, but you can still save some face by breaking off the engagement. Although Lu Qinyang said this, his tone was filled with schadenfreude. Obviously, he looked down on Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that these people were just envious and jealous. She was just a useless second generation who relied on her father to get such a beautiful fiancé that men could only dream of. Now that she had broken off the engagement, they were mocking her. If you have the ability, you should have a father like Old Man Wei. Reincarnation is also a skill. Ning Shu closed his eyes, not wanting to talk to these people. Even if Shi Huidi didn't like Wei Liangyue, did these people have a chance? The beauty was reserved for the male lead. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu like this and gave up talking to him. A man beside him frowned and said to Lu Qinyang, why are you talking to him for no reason? That's right, that's right. Even if he enters the secret realm, he will only drag us down. A female disciple glanced at Ning Shu and said with disdain. Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked at the female disciple who spoke, when did I say that I want to go with you? Can't I go by myself? Ning Shu never intended to follow these people. Although they were disciples of the same sect, it didn't mean that they could be trusted. Especially when these 6 people hated him so much. A look of disdain flashed across the female disciple's face, with your strength, entering the secret realm is just courting death. Any iron-teeth rabbit in the secret realm can deal with you. I didn't ask you for help. What are you talking about, bitch? Ning Shu didn't do anything to this female disciple. It was as if he had raped her. How bad was the original owner's reputation? Wasn't it because some people in the Heavenly Dao sect were jealous of the original owner? Wei Liangyue was indeed unrestrained in the matters between men and women, but he wasn't a vicious pervert who would eat any female. The female disciple was angered by Ning Shu's words, you dare to talk to me like that, a low-level cultivator. My father is Wei Ming. If you're not convinced, you can go and find my father. Ning Shu was now a genuine hedonistic son. The female disciple was so angry that her chest heaved as she glared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately felt refreshed. He knew that these women didn't like him. Ning Shu, who was hiding far away, pretended not to see them and didn't care. However, if they had to step on others to prove how pure they were, Ning Shu couldn't stand it. Sigh, it's all because of strength. Alright, we're all disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect. There's no need to make our relationship so tense. Wei Liangyue, your strength isn't enough and you need to rely on your companions to save you. Don't talk nonsense. The leading elder, Ning Shu, said. Clearly, he was reminding Ning Shu. Ning Shu grinned at the captain but didn't say anything. The other 6 disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect were even more unfriendly towards Ning Shu, but Ning Shu didn't care. Half a day later, they arrived at the entrance of the secret territory. There were already many people at the entrance of the secret territory. Each sect was clearly divided, waiting for the secret territory to open. When Ning Shu got off the spirit ship, he heard a very coquettish female voice, big pervert, you actually dare to appear. The surrounding people immediately snickered and jeered, big pervert, the disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect immediately distanced themselves from Ning Shu, acting as if they didn't know Ning Shu at all. Ning Shu still hadn't figured out what was going on. He looked at the coquettish girl in front of him. She was full of vitality and had a bell on her wrist that jingled. "Who are you?" Ning Shu looked at the proud girl and said in a bad mood, "Why wouldn't I dare to come? Is this place your home? Big pervert, you actually dared to break off the engagement with senior sister. I'm going to take revenge for senior sister today." The girl was filled with righteous indignation. "A piece of trash like you actually dared to break off the engagement." Ning Shu was speechless. He looked around and saw Shi not far away. She was dressed in white with a veil covering her face. She was cold and there was an imposing and handsome man standing beside her. Ning Shu didn't need to guess to know that this should be the male lead, Yi Yu. It wasn't enough to just be strong. He had to have a handsome face that women couldn't resist. He had to be the male lead with his own BG background music. Shi glanced at Ning Shu. Her eyes were indifferent as if she didn't know Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't care. On the other hand, Yi Yu sized up Ning Shu and then revealed a look of disdain. He then moved close to Shi ear and said something. His actions seemed very intimate. Facing Yi Yu's intimate actions, Shi moved to the side uncomfortably. She seemed to be a little shy. "Hey, big pervert, what are you looking at? Now that senior sister is no longer your fiancée, if you look again, I'll dig your eyes out." The girl Ning Shu fiercely shouted. Ning Shu looked at the girl. "Your senior sister didn't say anything. Why are you in such a hurry to stand up for others? So what if I break off the engagement? If I don't break off the engagement, should I wait to be beaten to death by the disciples of your rainbow sect?" Ning Shu curled his lips. He walked around the girl and prepared to leave. The girl stopped Ning Shu again. "At least you know what's good for you. Even if you want to break off the engagement, it should be my senior sister." Ning Shu was speechless. "Then why didn't your senior sister break off the engagement? We've been engaged for such a long time. If she wanted to break off the engagement, why didn't she say so?" Ning Shu stared at the girl and asked. The girl was a little speechless. She then said, "This is the decision of the sect. Senior sister can't make the decision herself. Then she can't make the decision. I propose to break off the engagement. Why are you looking for trouble with me? What do you want people to do? Send you to your death?" Ning Shu was really fed up. "Don't act like you're a good girl. You're a whore, but you still want to set up a monument to your chastity. Who took advantage of this matter?" The girl was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at Ning Shu. "Who are you calling a whore? If I don't destroy you, I won't be called Yan Jiao." Ning Shu sneered. "Your man is flirting with another woman. You're actually standing up for your love rival. Why are you so stupid? What man? What love rival? I don't know what you're talking about." Yan Jiao couldn't help but look at Yi Yu. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Sure enough, this hot-tempered girl liked Yi Yu. This girl with a proud mouth and an upright body was obviously a member of the male lead's harem. Senior brother Yi Yu is such a good person. Of course there are many who like him. If senior sister likes senior brother Yi Yu, I can't be happier. At least I won't have to marry a big pervert like you. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu was completely unable to understand this woman who was illuminated by the protagonist's aura. This kind of strange situation where she didn't have any resistance to sharing a man and instead got along harmoniously with the harem. He couldn't understand it even if he racked his brains. Generally speaking, the male lead's ability to ux was very strong. These harem women enjoyed it painfully and very much wanted a woman to share it with them. Therefore, these women didn't blame Yi Yu at all for taking in a harem. Instead, they were happy to have sisters. What a strange way of thinking. Chapter 263. Ning Shu didn't want to pay attention to this little girl, so he walked around Yan Jiao and left. Yi Yu walked over and put his hand on Ning Shu's shoulder. Yi Yu's hand was very heavy, making Ning Shu almost unable to control himself and kneel down. "Senior brother, aren't you being too rude to a girl?" Yi Yu lightly said, "Every girl should be protected and loved." "Senior brother Yi." Yan Jiao shouted towards Yi Yu, "This person is too hateful." Ning Shu looked at Yi Yu. He had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, but his eyes were flashing with coldness and killing intent. This killing intent was directed towards her. "Fuck, so heavy, I'm about to kneel down." Ning Shu suddenly wailed and fell to the ground with a plop. His face was twisted in pain. He pointed at Yi Yu and shouted, "You're so vicious, you actually used underhanded methods on me. You almost broke my shoulder." Yi Yu looked at his own hand and saw many people looking at him. Seeing this useless trash rolling on the ground in pain, his expression was very disdainful. Truly a useless thing. Fortunately, Hui Di didn't marry such a man. Otherwise, her life would be ruined. Hongmen's sex disciple attacked my heavenly Dao sex disciple for no reason. Do you want to provoke a fight between our two sects? The heavenly Dao sect's leading elder coldly asked Yi Yu. Yi Yu was a proud person, so he immediately said, "I didn't attack him. As long as you peel off his clothes, you will know." "Elder, I was injured by this person's origin chi. It hurts." Ning Shu struggled to get up from the ground and pitifully said to the elder. The elder gave Ning Shu a dan. "Does Hongmen's sect want to become enemies with our heavenly Dao sect?" The leading elder watched from the side and also saw the Hongmen sect's male disciple make a move. "Martial uncle, this is just a joke that junior brother Yi is playing with your sect's disciples. He doesn't have any intention of fighting." The incomparably cold Shi Huidi came over. She first gave a junior salute to the leading elder and said, "Cold moon." The leading elder looked at Ning Shu. After all, this was a matter between the younger generation. If he interfered too much, he would lose his bearing. At this moment, the disciples of the Tiandao sect came over. Ning Shu said, "Wei Liangyue, forget it. It's not a big deal. Senior apprentice sister Hui Di has already explained the matter clearly." Another disciple also said, while glancing at Shi Huidi. Ning Shu was speechless. "Big bitch, are you trying to get entangled with senior sister? There's clearly nothing going on, yet you're being so serious. Are you even a man? Nothing's going on, yet you're rolling on the ground," Yan Jiao said snappily. "I'm not a man, you're a man." Ning Shu and Yan Jiao rolled their eyes. "Sister, don't be so silly. You don't even know that you've been sold. Who are you calling sister? Who is your sister? If you call me sister again, I'll tear your mouth apart." Yan Jiao said unruly. "See, you can't even grasp the main point." Ning Shu clutched his chest and said, "I'm really injured. I see that the storage pouch on senior apprentice brother Ye's waist is not bad. Give it to me to play with." Ning Shu looked at the storage pouch on Yi Yu's waist. Who knows how many good things were inside. Yi Yu was a southern bamboo monarch with many treasures all over his body. Yi Yu used his hand to press on the storage pouch on his waist. His expression was cold as he looked at Ning Shu's wretched appearance. He almost couldn't resist the urge to instantly kill this disgusting person. "This is for you. It's a very good healing pill." Shi Huidi took out a bottle of pills and threw it to Ning Shu. "These pills are enough to heal your injuries." Ning Shu took the pills that Shi Huidi threw over. He opened it and smelled it. "It's really good stuff. Thank you, great beauty." Shi Huidi's expression became extremely cold. She was clearly angered by Ning Shu's flirtatious tone. Moreover, Shi found that this man was not sad at all after breaking off the engagement. He looked at her with a very strange expression. Originally, Shi's heart was a bit bothered by the broken engagement. She was a woman with a very strong self-esteem. She wanted to break off the relationship with this man, but not in this way. Other people looked at her with a very strange expression. They said that she was abandoned by a useless second generation. This kind of humiliation was unbearable for the strong Shi. Junior apprentice brother, let's go. The enchantment is about to open. Shi didn't want to stay together with this man. Yi Yu nodded. He turned around and walked away. When he turned around, he looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of killing intent. Humph. Yen Jiao put her hands on her hips. Ning Shu coldly snorted. Big bitch, I won't let you off. She swung her long ponytail and walked away. The lead elder snappily said to Ning Shu, you're quite the hateful one. Anything can happen in the mystic realm. I can see that the strength of the Rainbow Gate sect's disciples isn't weak. Be careful. Seeing these people, she immediately jumped on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and fled. She didn't have the ability to fight against the male lead. Wei Liangyue, I'll use this spirit tool to exchange for the pills in your hand. The chubby Lu Qinyang looked at the pills in Ning Shu's hand. The other three male disciples were also ready to make a move. They wanted to exchange with Ning Shu. They even wanted to directly snatch the pills. Damn, could it be that the pills were some kind of treasure? Ning Shu immediately held the bottle tightly. He vigilantly asked. What are you guys doing? This is something given by the peerless beauty, Master Hui Di. Keeping it by my side is like being in close contact with a goddess. Lu Qinyang said with a face full of ripples. Ning Shu, damn, these men are cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. Ning Shu even suspected that these men wanted the pills. Then they would look at the pills and masturbate. Ning Shu shook his head. He felt that he was too dirty. Ning Shu smiled and said. You can exchange, but only one pill at a time. If I don't like your things, I won't exchange. Okay. Lu Qinyang took out a dagger from his storage pouch and gave it to Ning Shu. This dagger can cut through iron like mud. It is very useful to keep it by your side. Ning Shu accepted the dagger and gave Lu Qinyang a round pill. Hey, Wei Liangyue, this is for you. Give me a pill too. A male disciple gave Ning Shu a spiritual herb fruit. Ning Shu happily accepted the spiritual fruit and gave him a pill. Shi saw this scene from not far away. She was so angry that her body was shaking. This Wei Liangyue was really, Shi saw the intoxicated expression of the male disciple who received the pill. The feeling of being fantasized by a man was too humiliating and disgusting. A disciple came over and gave Ning Shu a crystal filled with impurities. Ning Shu asked for a pill. Ning Shu held the crystal against the light. Are you fucking kidding me? You want to exchange this crystal for Goddess Shi's pill? In your dreams. Ning Shu, this is a chaos stone. Hurry up and keep it. Hurry up and keep it. 2333. A terrifying sound wave sounded in Ning Shu's head. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. He threw a pill to that disciple and said with disdain, look at your poor appearance. This is a reward from me. That disciple took the pill and laughed at Ning Shu in his heart. What an idiot. Chapter 264. Ning Shu used Shi's pills to trade for a lot of treasures. The most precious one was the Chaos Stone that 2333 mentioned. Just hearing about chaos made him feel inexplicably high. She had once absorbed chaotic purple gas in the Sky Dao space. Could the Chaos Stone also have chaotic purple gas? Ning Shu turned his head and saw Shi Huidi's cold eyes and Yi Yu's gaze that looked like he was looking at a dead man. Yi Yu looked at the wretched Ning Shu, then turned to Shi Huidi and said, "This person can't be left alive. Keeping him alive will hurt senior sister's reputation. He's doing this on purpose to humiliate senior sister. Once we enter the secret territory, junior brother will avenge senior sister and make sure he never leaves the secret territory." Shi Huidi's lips moved under the veil. She bit her lip with her pearly white teeth, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Yi Yu knew that senior apprentice sister agreed with his decision. Moreover, he was just a rich second generation. As long as he did it cleanly, no one would be able to find out. Senior apprentice sister, who was as bright as the moon, should not be looked at differently by the world because of this disgusting man. "Hey, big bitch, why did you trade the pills senior sister gave you for something else?" Yan Jiao asked unruly Ning Shu. Ning Shu said casually, "Since your senior sister gave it to me, it's mine. I can do whatever I want with it." "But you shouldn't have given the pills to these men in front of senior sister," Yan Jiao said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at Yan Jiao and said, "Little girl, what did I do to you? You're always looking for trouble. If I keep your senior sister's things, you'll say that I still have feelings for her. No matter what I do, I won't be happy. What do you want me to do? I'll send you to your death. You." Yan Jiao was so angry that her face turned red. She pulled out her whip and pointed it at Ning Shu. She shouted angrily, "I'll send you to your death first." As she spoke, she lashed out with her whip at Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly dodged. Looking at the whip in Yan Jiao's hand, he felt very sad. She also wanted to use her whip to whip people. "You actually dare to dodge? Be a good boy and let this great ant whip you. See if this great ant doesn't whip your stinky face into a pulp." Yan Jiao shouted in a very spoiled manner. She was dressed in a tight-fitting blue robe with a simple long ponytail. She looked exceptionally lively. Ning Shu hid behind the leading elder and complained, "Elder, she wants to kill me." The leading elder's face darkened. He felt a little embarrassed. Yan Jiao was so angry that her face was distorted. She pointed at Ning Shu and shouted, "Are you still a man? How dare you complain? Do you have any shame? So what if I'm shameless?" Ning Shu's Yan Jiao said with grief and indignation, "You think you're in the right when you hit him? You're the shameless one. You can't win an argument, so you hit him. You're simply shameless. You're the shameless one. You're the shameless one." Yan Jiao immediately retorted. "Oh my, this girl is too cute. It would be even better if I didn't whip her. Such a cute girl would be drowned in Yi Yu's harem. Every time Yi Yu met a beauty, he would take that beauty into his bag. There were all kinds of beauties. There were romantic ones, charming ones, pure ones, dignified ones, cold ones, lively ones. In short, there were all kinds of beauties. Moreover, these women loved him to death. When they met Yi Yu, they would all be attracted to Yi Yu. Yi Yu saw Yan Jiao and Ning Shu quarreling and felt a little uncomfortable. He hurriedly called out to Yan Jiao. "All right, Yan Jiao, there's no need to be so serious with this kind of person." Facing Yi Yu, Yan Jiao's expression became much better. She walked towards Yi Yu and even turned around to threaten Ning Shu. "Just you wait. If you fall into my hands, this great ant will definitely make you suffer a fate worse than death." "Ning Shu, I'm so scared." The barrier of the secret realm was getting weaker and weaker. It looked like it would open soon. Ning Shu's expression became serious. He held the spirit beast pouch tightly. If anything happened, he would release the flash wind eagle and run. Nothing was more important than his life. For his life, he could give up his integrity. It's open. The barrier is open. Following the sound of people's voices, everyone went into a big hole in the barrier. Ning Shu was in the middle of the crowd and was directly squeezed in. Before he could react, his head buzzed and he didn't feel anything. When Ning Shu woke up, he was already in a desolate place. There was a familiar person lying next to him. It was Lu Qinyang. Not long after Ning Shu woke up, Lu Qinyang woke up as well. He then began to vomit. When the dizziness disappeared, Lu Qinyang noticed Ning Shu next to him. He was a little surprised. You were sent here by the teleportation array. Why didn't you have any reaction? Of course I had a reaction. I wanted to vomit a long time ago, but I swallowed it down. Ning Shu smacked his lips. Lu Qinyang, Lu Qinyang, who had just vomited, began to vomit again. Ning Shu ignored him and directly released the Flash Wind Eagle from the Spirit Beast pouch. He was ready to leave. Hey, where are you going? Seeing Ning Shu's Flash Wind Eagle, Lu Qinyang's eyes flashed. He said, the secret realm is dangerous. Let's go together. If anything happens, we can help each other. Lu Qinyang looked at the Flash Wind Eagle with envy. He then asked Ning Shu, how many people can your Flash Wind Eagle carry? 1. Ning Shu controlled the Flash Wind Eagle to fly into the air. Seeing Ning Shu leave, Lu Qinyang's face suddenly turned ugly. He hurriedly shouted at Ning Shu, who was in the air, you are so weak. You want to go alone? Let's go together. Ning Shu didn't want to stay with someone with bad intentions. He also had to guard against the people around him. The Flash Wind Eagle was very fast. In an instant, it disappeared in front of Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang cursed and regretted that he didn't make a move earlier. He didn't expect that Trash Wei Liangyue would have a spirit beast like the Flash Wind Eagle. Ning Shu sat on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and looked around. This space had a desert and forests. He could faintly hear the sound of beasts roaring in the lush forest. There was also the sea in the distance. If this was a cultivator's senfu, it was too big. Ning Shu let the Flash Wind Eagle land and then put it away. Walking in the forest, Ning Shu picked the spirit herbs he saw. Moreover, this secret realm was full of heaven and earth yuan qi. Ning Shu only needed to take a sniff, and his breath was full of yuan qi. He felt refreshed. If he could accept this senfu and cultivate in this senfu, it would be great. This should be the male lead's fortuitous encounter. It had nothing to do with her. Ning Shu touched some herbs that spirit beasts hated. In her heart, she was drooling over this senfu. However, her current strength was too weak. She simply didn't have the strength to fight with the male lead. Sigh. This senfu isn't anything good. It's just trash. 2333's voice in her mind was full of disdain. Ning Shu indifferently replied, forgive me for not seeing the world. I don't know what else is good. Why do you say this senfu is trash? Ning Shu's feelings were complicated. The thing she wanted but couldn't get was looked down upon by others. Chapter 265. Then why don't you tell me why this senfu is trash? Can you give me a piece of trash like the senfu? Ning Shu said indignantly. She still wanted to snatch this piece of trash from the male lead, Tui, senfu. This shouldn't be some senfu, but a plane, a very very low-level plane. It didn't even have its own laws, so it can't give birth to its own unique creatures. In the end, it was sacrificed and used as a senfu, a shelter. 2333 said faintly, obviously looking down on this senfu. This plane has no future. If it can't form its own laws of heaven and earth, it will slowly disappear. If that's the case, it should have grown into a plane. It's an immature plane. The place where the plane was born prematurely peeled off. 2333 said. The place where the plane was born? There's such a place? Ning Shu asked curiously. She felt like she had opened the door to a new world. 2333 said impatiently. Planes can also die. If the plane can't maintain and repair its laws of heaven and earth, the plane will collapse and naturally disappear. However, new planes will also be born. Your role is to repair these planes and prevent them from collapsing for some reason. After all, every plane has countless creatures. If the plane collapses, these creatures will also disappear. Ning Shu suddenly felt that her current job was so great. She could live forever and also repair planes. Okay, now how was she going to snatch this plane from the male lead? If this thing fell into the male lead's hands, then the male lead would be invincible. If she couldn't beat him, then she could just hide in the Senfu. Ning Shu took out the map that old man Wei gave her. It marked the places where treasures grew. However, they were all guarded by vicious beasts. Ning Shu couldn't beat them. Getting these things was basically a dream. Her strength was too low. Ning Shu felt that the mission was getting harder and harder. Senior Brother Yi, where are we going now? A familiar lively female voice sounded. Then, a group of people appeared in front of Ning Shu. They were basically all disciples of the Rainbow Sect. Yan Jiao was stunned for a moment, then she laughed sinisterly. Big bitch, you're out of luck. When Yi Yu saw Ning Shu, he sneered. His eyes were cold. Ning Shu said, you shouldn't humiliate your senior sister like that. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He released his flash wind eagle and ran away. Yi Yu was stunned for a moment. He hadn't even finished speaking and this person had already run away. It seemed like this person knew that he wasn't strong enough and ran away first. Yi Yu was particular about getting rid of weeds. Don't think that just because you have a flying spirit beast, you can run away. Yi Yu turned to Yan Jiao and Shi Huidi and said, wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Senior Brother Yi, you must kill that despicable bitch. Don't let your senior sister be sad for this kind of person. He insulted your senior sister like this. You must cut him into 10,000 pieces. Yan Jiao angrily said. Yi Yu seriously looked at Shi Huidi, who was wearing a thin veil, and said, Senior sister, don't worry. I will definitely kill this person. Xiaohua. Yi Yu shouted. A red light came out from the spirit beast bag. Then, a clear bird cry sounded. A fiery red bird affectionately called out to Yi Yu. Okay, Xiaohua. Let's go chase after the rat. Let him see the grace of your divine beast. Yi Yu jumped on Xiaohua's back and chased after Ning Shu. Ning Shu, who was running in front, felt that something was wrong. The flash wind eagle's consciousness transmitted a feeling of fear. Moreover, its speed also slowed down. Ning Shu looked back and saw Yi Yu standing on the back of the fiery red bird. He was chasing after him, and the distance between them was gradually shortening. Is this a phoenix? The other party's speed was getting faster and faster. It was clearly faster than the flash wind eagle. Ning Shu was a bit anxious. If the male lead caught up, would he still be alive? Fly towards the seaside. Ning Shu ordered the flash wind eagle. The flash wind eagle wanted to get rid of the pressure of the divine beast. When it heard Ning Shu's order, it immediately flapped its wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw the flash wind eagle increasing its speed and coldly sneered. Struggling before death. Xiaohua, hurry up. Senior sister is still waiting for us. There's no need to waste time here. The divine beast phoenix cried out. It flapped its beautiful fiery red wings and chased after the big stupid bird. Ning Shu was very anxious. He saw Yi Yu getting closer and closer. Moreover, his speed was very fast. Don't run. Even if you run, you won't be able to escape. Yi Yu mobilized the energy in his body and attacked Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly felt his internal organs shift. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. If it wasn't for the soft armor given to him by Old Man Wei, Ning Shu would have already died. Ning Shu didn't care about the pain in his body. He transferred his energy into the Flash Wind Eagle. With Ning Shu's assistance, the Flash Wind Eagle desperately increased its speed. It flapped its big wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw that his attack didn't injure the other party. He was surprised. He had used 80% of his strength. He thought that this person would be directly smashed into minced meat. However, he was actually fine. It seemed like he only spat out a mouthful of blood. Yi Yu's eyes flashed with a burning light. This person must have some kind of protective treasure on him. Yi Yu's expression became serious. He said to the phoenix, "Xiaohua, hurry up. What kind of treasure does this person have?" The phoenix let out a clear cry and increased its speed to catch up to the Flash Wind Eagle. Ning Shu had already been chased to the seaside by Yi Yu. Ning Shu stood on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and looked at the phoenix. Yi Yu stood majestically on the phoenix's back. He was handsome like a powerful god, making others worship him. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood. He directly let the Flash Wind Eagle enter the Spirit Beast pouch. He directly jumped into the sea. Moreover, he was lucky to jump into the sea. Yi Yu's face suddenly sank. He stared blankly at the splashing waves in the sea. His heart was very worried. He thought that this person was just a useless piece of trash. He didn't think that he would have the courage to jump into the sea. Moreover, he didn't hesitate to jump into the sea. He couldn't not be caught. Yi Yu's heart suddenly had a trace of fear towards this second-generation young master. He clearly knew that there were all kinds of spirit beasts in the sea. However, he still jumped in. Yi Yu put himself in the other party's shoes. If it was him, he would rather fight to the death than jump into the sea like this. However, Yi Yu forgot that Ning Shu was just a cultivation rookie. He didn't even have the ability to fight. Yi Yu regretted not killing him earlier. He kept thinking about the other party's protective treasure. He wanted to use the least damaging method to kill him. He wanted to capture him alive and kill him. Unexpectedly, the other party managed to escape. Chapter 266. After Ning Shu jumped into the sea, Yi Yu didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited above the sea surface. Yi Yu waited above for a long time. Seeing that the person in the sea didn't appear, Yi Yu thought for a moment before jumping into the sea. In the past, he looked down on Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue was very decisive in this situation. With a tenacious mind, she must be a great enemy. Yi Yu jumped into the sea. Immediately, he felt that the sea water was bone-piercing cold. It was as if he was soaking in ice water. Even if he circulated the essence in his body, he couldn't resist the cold. What kind of sea water was this? It was so bone-piercing cold that it seemed to be able to freeze the essence in his body. Yi Yu looked around but didn't see Ning Shu's shadow. Even with Yi Yu's cultivation, he couldn't resist the cold. He felt that Wei Liangyue's cultivation was too low. She should have been frozen to death by the sea water. Yi Yu jumped out of the sea surface and stood on the back of the phoenix. He frowned and looked at the sea surface. He didn't see anyone. In the end, he left. However, not long after, Yi Yu returned. However, he still didn't see Wei Liangyue. Did she really die? Did she disappear for no reason? Yi Yu stayed for a while longer before he really left. Ning Shu, who was being remembered by Yi Yu, was entangled by something. She couldn't escape. Moreover, the thing that was entangling her felt like kelp or an octopus leg. Now, Ning Shu was holding a dagger and trying to cut off the thing on his ankle. However, when he tried to cut it, it felt like he was cutting a piece of iron or stone. The force of the rebound made Ning Shu's hand go numb. In addition, the sea water was cold. That kind of cold seeped into his bones. Ning Shu felt that his body was frozen numb. If it wasn't for the peerless martial arts in his body supporting him, he was afraid that Ning Shu would have frozen to death. Moreover, the cultivation method of this world was unable to resist the cold. What the hell was this thing? Anyway, this thing just kept pestering her and didn't eat her. It also didn't make any movements. The surroundings were pitch black, and Ning Shu couldn't see anything. Fuck, I'm going to suffocate if I don't go now. Ning Shu didn't care about the thing on his leg and swam desperately at night, wanting to take a breath. She had been at the bottom of the sea for a long time. Just as he floated to the surface, he was dragged down by something on his leg. He only took a breath before he was dragged down. Furthermore, he had been injured by Yi Yu and his internal organs were damaged. Now that he was soaked in the bone-chilling seawater, Ning Shu felt like he was going to die. If he didn't take any medicine to treat his wounds, he would really die. Yi Yu, once I get out of here, I'll definitely hunt you down and let you have a taste of what it's like to be hunted down. Ning Shu released the Flash Wind Eagle. When the Flash Wind Eagle came out, it realized that it was in the sea and was stunned. Ning Shu grabbed the Flash Wind Eagle's claws and ordered it to rush out of the sea. The Flash Wind Eagle's speed was very slow in his hands. Ning Shu was speechless. He still dared to say that his ancestor was the Kunpeng. The Kunpeng could fly 9,000 miles in the sky and was invincible. However, the Flash Wind Eagle wasn't so good. Above, the Flash Wind Eagle was desperately trying to fly up. Below, the kelp was tightly holding onto him, pulling him down. Ning Shu felt like he was going to be torn apart. Fuck, this was how miserable it was to be weak. Suddenly, Ning Shu's leg loosened. Without the obstruction, the Flash Wind Eagle rushed out of the sea. For a moment, it couldn't stop and flew very high. When Ning Shu looked down, she felt dizzy. Moreover, there were astral winds high up in the sky. When the astral winds hit people, they immediately left deep bloody marks on their bodies. They were like flying knives. What Ning Shu couldn't stand the most was that his leg was still wrapped around by that damn thing. That damn thing was also being dragged out of the sea. Go down, go down. Ning Shu ordered the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle carefully avoided the astral winds and finally came down. As soon as his feet touched the ground, Ning Shu immediately took out some healing pills from his storage bag. Seeing that the Flash Wind Eagle's body was badly injured by the astral winds, he hurriedly stuffed the pills into its mouth and fed it some crystals. At least he had a helper by his side. It was really important to have a capable companion. Fortunately, he had contracted a spirit beast when he entered the secret realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Yi Yu. The thing on his leg was slowly pulling him into the sea. Ning Shu looked at this thing and felt that it was really kelp. It even had roots. However, this kelp was completely black and had a feeling of fine iron. Furthermore, this thing had its own consciousness and was pulling Ning Shu into the sea with great force. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, did this kelp become a spirit? Ning Shu let the Flash Wind Eagle try to use its claws to see if it could pry open the kelp. The Flash Wind Eagle used its sharp and cold claws to scratch at the kelp on Ning Shu's leg. Sparks flew when the claws came into contact with the kelp. It seemed that there was no way to pry open the thing around his leg. Fuck, how unlucky. The kelp extended other branches and tried to entangle the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle immediately flew into the air, making it impossible for the kelp to entangle it. Ning Shu hugged a tree tightly and didn't let this thing drag him into the sea. Fuck, his leg was going to be torn off. What the hell was this? Could it be that he couldn't get rid of the kelp? If the kelp really turned him into spicy shredded kelp, the problem was that he had never seen such hard kelp before. Ning Shu had no choice but to try and see if she could make this thing her spiritual pet. 2 small white dots appeared in his consciousness. Sure enough, it worked. Ning Shu squeezed his consciousness into a small white ball. The kelp was still ignorant and didn't know how to resist. It just kept dragging Ning Shu into the sea. After engraving his consciousness into the kelp's consciousness, Ning Shu realized that this one, let's call it this one for now, didn't have any emotions. Its mind was blank. The emotional fluctuations that were transmitted to Ning Shu were that it wanted to go into the sea. It seemed that it couldn't leave the sea. Ning Shu first comforted the kelp and then asked it to let go of him. However, the kelp didn't understand Ning Shu's intention and just tried to drag Ning Shu into the sea with all its might. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, there was no way to communicate. Ning Shu could only communicate with the kelp in his consciousness and ask it to let go of him. The kelp still dragged Ning Shu into the sea. Ning Shu could only sigh and let it drag him into the sea. Once it touched the sea, the kelp seemed to be in a better state. It swam in front of Ning Shu and seemed to be very curious about Ning Shu. Ning Shu floated on the surface of the sea and expressed his goodwill to the kelp over and over again. He also asked it to let go of his leg. The kelp finally understood Ning Shu's intention and finally let go of Ning Shu's leg. However, the whole plant stuck to Ning Shu's body and tightly wrapped around Ning Shu. Then, it suddenly pulled Ning Shu into the sea. Fuck, help. Ning Shu's heart ached when he encountered the first stupid spirit beast. When the flash-winged eagle saw this, it screeched sharply and hurriedly flew on the surface of the sea. Ning Shu was pulled to the bottom of the sea by the kelp. The kelp tightly wrapped around Ning Shu and seemed to be very intimate with Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Help, I need to breathe. Chapter 267. Ning Shu was dragged to the bottom of the sea by Kelp Lord. What he regretted the most in his life was making Kelp Lord his spirit pet. Without any thoughts, it was so difficult to communicate. Ning Shu was planted beside Kelp Lord like a stalk of kelp. Ning Shu reached out and touched it. He felt that the place under his feet should be some kind of coral. It was hard to the touch. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord in his mind, but Kelp Lord only gave Ning Shu a very monotonous feeling. It didn't even know what Ning Shu was talking about. After being in the sea for a long time, Ning Shu asked Kelp Lord to take him out to breathe. If she didn't breathe, she would die. After telling Kelp Lord many times, Kelp Lord finally got Ning Shu out of the sea. When Ning Shu took a breath, Kelp Lord would immediately drag her down. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her to the bottom of the sea again. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea again. The flash-winged eagle stood on the shore and watched its master pop up again and again. Ning Shu, my heart is so tired. I don't know what to say. After being tormented by Kelp Lord, Ning Shu found that he had completely adapted to the bone-piercing temperature of the sea. His body didn't feel cold anymore. It was probably because he was numb to the cold and couldn't feel it. Ning Shu stayed beside Kelp Lord. He felt that the vitality in the sea was quite abundant. Ning Shu also felt that his body was slowly strengthening. During this time, Ning Shu understood the situation around him. There was only one spirit beast, Kelp Lord. Sometimes, Ning Shu could even feel some bones. It was probably a spirit beast in the sea that was entangled by Kelp Lord and died here. Ning Shu didn't know how Kelp Lord evolved from seaweed to this. It was simply unbelievable. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord, but Kelp Lord was still confused. Really, why do I always meet these kinds of noobs? It's fine if it's zombies, but now it's kelp. I don't know what kind of creatures will appear in the future. The kelp let Ning Shu squat beside it. Anyway, she didn't have to do anything. Ning Shu wanted to leave, but the kelp wrapped around her tightly, making it impossible for her to escape. Fuck, am I going to die of old age in this plane? There was nothing more tragic than being entangled to death by a kelp. Ning Shu had no choice but to cultivate slowly. However, cultivating underwater was actually much faster than cultivating on land. This was the only consolation amidst his misery. Invulnerable and ignorant. Ning Shu's claws were really numb. This was how miserable it was to be weak. 2333 system, please help me. Ning Shu asked 2333 for help for the first time. The buzzing sound in his head continued for a long time, but 2333 still did not say anything. Ning Shu suspected that 2333 had burned his motherboard. What is it? 2333 asked. Suddenly, it exclaimed, there's a lot of spiritual marrow under your butt. Ning Shu hurriedly searched everywhere. Where is it? Where is it? Ning Shu touched something that looked like a rock. Is this spiritual marrow? Ah, the spiritual marrow is crystallized. Good stuff, good stuff. 2333 quickly said, there's liquid spiritual marrow underneath. Ning Shu touched the spiritual marrow again. The spiritual marrow was very heavy. It was like jelly in the water and did not disperse in the water. Suddenly, he understood that the kelp was able to grow to this size because of the spiritual marrow. It only had strength, but no brains. Quick, these are all good energy. Give them all to me. 2333 finally saw a type of energy. Ning Shu gave the crystallized spirit marrow to 2333 and did not take any more. She grabbed a handful of the jelly-like spirit marrow and stuffed it into her mouth. Suddenly, an endless amount of spirit chi surged through her body. It was as if she could not stop it. Do you want to die? This kind of thing can't be eaten casually. 2333 said, even a drop of spiritual marrow contains a lot of spiritual energy. Ning Shu felt that the spiritual energy in his body was about to burst. Blood was coming out of his pores. Kelp seemed to have noticed that something was wrong with Ning Shu. It dragged Ning Shu to the surface of the sea. When Ning Shu thought that his body was about to explode, the peerless martial arts coiling dragon-like chi in his body actually started to absorb the spirit chi. Moreover, the coiling dragon's body was getting bigger and bigger, occupying the entire position of his dantian. However, it still absorbed the spiritual energy quickly. The dragon's body became smaller and smaller. Finally, it turned into a golden dragon. Its whole body emitted a golden luster. It swam in his dantian like a real dragon. The spiritual chi in the spiritual marrow was completely absorbed by this chi. Ning Shu was simply dumbfounded. She didn't think that this chi would be so fierce. She had obtained this secret book of peerless martial arts when she was a princess in a low-level plane. Moreover, it had such a funny name. Since she didn't have any powerful secret books, Ning Shu could only practice this secret book. However, she didn't think that this peerless martial arts would be so powerful. It was simply beyond Ning Shu's expectations. Sure enough, the simplest and lowest level things could be very powerful when practiced to the extreme. It was reasonable to say that Wei Liangyue's secret book was countless times stronger than the peerless martial arts. However, in the end, he still relied on this spiritual energy to save his life. It seemed that even if he had a powerful secret book in the future, he could not throw away the peerless martial arts. This was the most powerful thing. The flash-winged eagle flew back and forth above Ning Shu's head. Its cry was somewhat anxious. It was clearly worried about Ning Shu. If Ning Shu died, the flash-winged eagle would also die. Ning Shu felt that her body was full of strength. Even with the kelp entangling her, Ning Shu easily went ashore. The kelp wanted to throw Ning Shu into the sea, but Ning Shu pulled on the kelp and easily dragged it away. She had now killed it. Oh, he. The kelp's consciousness transmitted a very wronged feeling. Ning Shu directly let it soak in the sea. Then, she took out a spirit essence crystal and scraped a bit of powder before putting it into the Flash Wind Eagle's mouth. The Flash Wind Eagle immediately let out a high-pitched cry. Its entire body was trembling, and the feathers on its body quickly fell off. Soon, it turned into a big fat turkey, much thinner than before. Ning Shu was startled. Fuck, what's going on? Why is its feathers falling off? Thinking that he would have to ride such a thing in the future, Ning Shu felt very sad. But soon, the Flash Wind Eagle's body grew new feathers. The color of the feathers was darker than before, but its defensive power had increased by a level. The Flash Wind Eagle rubbed its head against Ning Shu, expressing its current happiness to Ning Shu. However, Ning Shu immediately pushed the Flash Wind Eagle's head away. Such a ferocious bird head with an even sharper beak. It still wanted to act cute and act cute. Go away. Now, Ning Shu had a shadow over the intimate actions of a spirit pet. It was all because of the kelp's fault. 2333 System Sir, seeing that I took so much spirit essence, can you give this kelp some wisdom? I'm tired. Ning Shu asked 2333. Chapter 268. Ning Shu looked at the kelp that was floating in the water. Such an innocent little thing really made people feel helpless. There should be some kind of command aura that gave this guy some pitiful intelligence. Ning Shu asked 2333 to think of a way, but 2333 immediately went silent. Ning Shu said unhappily, you should at least give something back if you take something from others. Now Ning Shu understood. The kelp kept asking her to stay with it probably because it felt that the place it grew up in was a good place and wanted to share it with her. Unfortunately, she could not communicate with the kelp. The kelp was lucky to be able to grow in such a place. It can be exchanged, but your system store is not open yet, so there is no way to open it. 2333 said regretfully. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, I must open this damn store. There are low-level wisdom pills. I can use a loophole in the system to exchange some for you. Do you want it? But the spiritual marrow is mine. 2333 said weakly, my energy is about to run out. Fuck, what a black-hearted bitch. Ning Shu waved her hand, exchange it. Okay, please wait. 2333's voice was very excited. Ning Shu felt that he was tricked again. A moment later, 5 round pills appeared in Ning Shu's hand, shining with a rainbow light. Moreover, the fragrance was very strong, making people feel a lot clearer after smelling it. Things that they didn't understand before were now clear. This was the wisdom pill. Ning Shu wanted to feed the wisdom pill to the kelp, but she suddenly realized that the kelp did not have a mouth. How was she going to feed the kelp? Maybe it knew that the thing in front of it was beneficial. The kelp's roots suddenly opened something like a mouth, waiting for Ning Shu to feed it. Ning Shu felt that her worldview was being challenged. Fuck, the kelp had a mouth. After continuously throwing 3 wisdom pills into kelp's mouth, kelp was so proud of himself that even his long branches were shaking. Ning Shu thought about it and removed the relationship between him and the kelp. The kelp could only live in the sea, so there was nothing wrong with bringing it with him. For a moment, Ning Shu felt that his consciousness connection with kelp had disappeared. Kelp was a little confused and didn't quite understand what was happening. Ning Shu sat on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and left. Ning Shu stuffed a wisdom pill into the Flash Wind Eagle's mouth. Then, he ate one himself. The moment the pill entered his mouth, it melted into a warm current. Then, he felt nothing. Ning Shu smacked his lips. That's it? Heavens, you actually ate the wisdom pill. 2333 exclaimed, using the mainframe to simulate a shocked voice, this wisdom pill is for animals, no one has ever eaten it before. Ning Shu, holy shit, will there be any side effects? Ning Shu covered his face. This was a dark history that he couldn't bear to look at. 2333 was silent for a moment, then said, "No one has ever eaten it before. I really don't know what side effects there will be. If there are any side effects, you have to tell me so that I can make some data." Ning Shu, I want to die. This was the reason why he didn't know much. Most importantly, he had an unreliable system by his side. The flash-winged eagle was now very fast. In a short while, they were far away from the beach. Ning Shu patted the flash-winged eagle's wings and asked it to dismount. Ning Shu didn't meet many people along the way. When he came across some spiritual herbs and rare treasures, even if they were guarded by spiritual beasts, Ning Shu didn't let them go. Ning Shu wanted to test his abilities. He came across a spiritual fruit that could expand the meridians. However, this spiritual fruit was guarded by a ferocious bear. Ning Shu looked at the incomparably majestic tyrannical bear and felt a little weak. However, she circulated her chi and stabbed the tyrannical bear with her spirit weapon longsword. The tyrannical bear was enraged and raised its huge bear paw to slap Ning Shu. However, what was more shocking was that Ning Shu's sword pierced through the bear's paw. It shouldn't be because of the spiritual weapon. Ning Shu clenched her fists and felt that her entire body was filled with strength. Ning Shu jumped up from the ground and clenched her fists tightly, smashing them towards the violent bear's head. In an instant, the bear's head exploded like a watermelon. Smelly blood mixed with gray brain matter splattered all over Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu was indescribably shocked. She was now Hercules. Her strength had reached an unimaginable level. Ning Shu didn't react until the bear's body fell to the ground. It was good to have strength. Only then would she have the strength to fight back against the male lead. The flash-winged eagle eagerly picked the spiritual fruit for Ning Shu and obediently gave it to her. Ning Shu took the spiritual fruit and placed it in her storage bag. Ning Shu didn't know how long it had been. She was afraid that she would be trapped in this senfu and not be able to leave. After walking for a while, Ning Shu didn't meet anyone. Thus, she caught 2 iron-teeth rabbits and roasted them. The flash-winged eagle stood around Ning Shu and vigilantly checked the surroundings for danger. Ning Shu clearly felt that the flash-winged eagle had become more spiritual after eating the wisdom pill. In addition, Ning Shu's strength had increased. In its heart, it regarded Ning Shu as its master. The flash-winged eagle transmitted to Ning Shu its feelings of reverence and gratitude. Speaking of the wisdom pill, Ning Shu's cancer of embarrassment flared up. It was too embarrassing. After eating a tasteless iron-teeth rabbit, Ning Shu dug her teeth. After all, it was a spiritual beast. The meat was tough. Ning Shu threw the other one to the flash-winged eagle. Suddenly, there was a rush of chaotic footsteps. Ning Shu was shocked. It meant that there were still people in the senfu. The senfu's enchantment hadn't been closed. The flash-winged eagle immediately held the roasted rabbit in its mouth, stretched its neck, and swallowed it whole. Ning Shu couldn't help but stretch her neck and swallow a mouthful of saliva. Wasn't it afraid of indigestion? 4 people ran over in a sorry state. Their expressions were hurried and anxious, as if there was something terrifying chasing after them. However, these 4 people were familiar. They were the disciples of the Tiandao sect. There were 6 people, but now there were only 4 people left. 2 men and 2 women. The 2 missing disciples were probably dead. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu, he subconsciously exclaimed, "You're still alive." Lu Qinyang was really surprised. This secret realm was full of danger. Although there were many treasures, there were also many dangers. Not only were there powerful spiritual beasts, but there were also other people who had to be careful. Therefore, when Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu, he was shocked. How could someone with such weak strength survive? When the other 3 disciples saw Ning Shu, they were disappointed. They thought that he was someone powerful, but he was the famous trash of the sect. What's chasing after you? Ning Shu asked Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang looked at the flash-winged eagle that seemed bigger than before. His eyes flashed. When he heard Ning Shu's question, he quickly said, "Junior brother, there are spine iron wolves chasing after us. Can your flash-winged eagle take us away?" Chapter 269. Lu Qinyang wanted to sit on Ning Shu's flash-winged eagle and leave. The other two disciples of the Tiandao sect had already been bitten to death by the ridge iron wolves. "Junior brother Wei, let's go together. The wolf pack will catch up soon," Lu Qinyang anxiously said to Ning Shu. The other three disciples surrounded Ning Shu and the flash-winged eagle. Ning Shu's face darkened as he coldly said, "What? You want to steal my flash-winged eagle?" Lu Qinyang dryly laughed, "Don't misunderstand, junior brother Wei. We are all in danger and want to borrow your spirit pet. Let's go together." In Lu Qinyang's heart, Wei Liangyue was a piece of trash who couldn't help the sect at all. It was better to let them live and let Wei Liangyue do something for the sect. Ning Shu clenched his fists and coldly said, "Don't forget, the flash-winged eagle is my spirit pet. I can kill it with a single thought. If you want to steal my things, I will destroy you." Lu Qinyang was angered by Ning Shu's impolite words. One of the female disciples said, "Wei Liangyue, do you have any sense of the sect? We are all disciples of the Tiandao sect and we should support each other. What's wrong with borrowing your flash-winged eagle?" As soon as the female disciple finished speaking, wolf howls resounded. Immediately after, many wolves jumped over and surrounded the group. These ridge iron wolves had very protruding spines. When they opened their mouths, their saliva dripped onto the ground and corroded it. Moreover, their saliva was very smelly. The spine iron wolf slowly closed in, shrinking the encirclement. The spine iron wolf's eyes were filled with hatred as it looked at the heavenly Tao sect's disciples. Its saliva dripped as it closed in step by step, bringing with it a suffocating aura. The two female disciples' faces turned pale. They staggered and almost fell to the ground. One of them almost cried. Ning Shu complained, "If you had lent your flash-winged eagle to us, we wouldn't be in such a situation. I don't want to die." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Putting aside the fact that the flash-winged eagle couldn't fit so many people, these people didn't seem to have any intention of taking her away. They might even kill her. This weirdo's matter-of-fact attitude really made Ning Shu drunk. Wasn't she just a weakling? Wolves were very vengeful and cunning creatures. These disciples must have offended the pack of wolves or taken something that the pack of wolves valued. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so persistent in chasing them. "What did you take?" Ning Shu and Lu Qinyang asked. Lu Qinyang said, "It's a kind of spiritual fruit. We've already eaten it. You deserve to be chased." Ning Shu shrugged and said casually. Lu Qinyang glared at Ning Shu and took out his own spirit artifact. He took the lead in fighting against the ridge iron wolves. The others also braced themselves to find a breakthrough point and prepared to rush out of the wolf pack's encirclement. No one cared about Ning Shu. Obviously, if they rushed out of the encirclement, they wouldn't care about Ning Shu. TSK, TSK, TSK. Just a moment ago, they were still talking about the sect's consciousness. Now, these people had completely lost the sect's unity. Cultivators were very selfish. In order to pursue the supreme Tao, in order to cultivate, in order to achieve their goals, they were especially indifferent and selfish. So what if these people became immortals? Ning Shu let the flash-winged eagle fight. The flash-winged eagle flew into the air and then suddenly swooped down. It used its terrifying sharp beak to peck the ridge iron wolf's back. Suddenly, the ridge iron wolf's sad spine was broken. Ning Shu took a deep breath and clenched her fist. She punched the wolf that was pouncing towards her. Her fist smashed into the ridge iron wolf's head. In an instant, the ridge iron wolf's head exploded into a bloody mist. Even its body was turned into pieces of meat. Ning Shu was very excited. She discovered that her strength was really great. Moreover, it was developing in the direction of strength. She didn't need to use any complicated moves. She could directly use her bare hands to heavily injure some spirit beasts or people that didn't have a strong defense. In order to test her strength, Ning Shu clenched her fist and punched the ridge iron wolf's back. Immediately, the ridge iron wolf fell to the ground. Its body was soft and its bones were all broken. Clenching her fist, Ning Shu really wanted to shout. The feeling of being filled with strength was really great. She didn't have to worry about being chased by Yi Yu anymore. Maybe she could even kill him. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu's actions from the corner of his eyes. He was so shocked that his jaw dropped. Was this trash that only knew how to play with women and rely on his father's protection? Killing a wolf with a single punch. Lu Qinyang suspected that he was dreaming. Although it was easy for him to kill a wolf, many ants could bite an elephant to death. With so many ridge iron wolves, he was a bit overwhelmed. He watched as this trash easily killed the ridge iron wolves. The reason why the ridgeback iron wolf was called Iron Wolf was because its defensive ability was very strong. The spirit beasts in this secret realm all had very strong defensive abilities. Even an iron teeth rabbit had a pretty good defensive ability, but now it was killed by a single punch. Such a simple and crude move. Did it shake Lu Qinyang's worldview? If this was trash, then what about them? The other disciples also noticed Ning Shu's actions. They were so shocked that their jaws dropped. How could he kill the wolves so easily? Without any discussion, everyone gathered around Ning Shu and resisted the pack of wolves with her. Ning Shu and the Flash-Winged Eagle reaped the harvest. The ground was covered with the corpses of the ridge iron wolves. The other ridge iron wolves lowered their bodies and whimpered at Ning Shu. They continuously retreated and finally ran away with their tails between their legs. Seeing the ridge iron wolves run away, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They turned their heads and looked at Ning Shu with a complicated expression. Ning Shu casually grabbed a handful of grass from the ground and wiped the stench of blood on her hands. A female disciple handed a handkerchief to Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Junior brother, use the handkerchief to wipe." Ning Shu was not polite. She took the handkerchief and wiped her hands clean. Looking at her own hands, they didn't look very thick or strong. They were just a pair of white and tender hands that had been maintained by the original owner. However, they had so much strength. It should be the coiling dragon energy in her body that had transformed her body. In addition to the effect of the energy, her body was filled with explosive power. The others also stared at Ning Shu's hands. It was hard to imagine that a pair of hands that looked like a woman's could have such great power. They suddenly felt that this pair of hands was filled with charm and beauty. Lu Qinyang and Ning Shu laughed heartily and said, "Junior brother Wei, I didn't expect your strength to be so great. I didn't know before." Ning Shu ignored Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang was a bit embarrassed and immediately said, "Where is junior brother Wei going next? Why don't we go together?" "Yes, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Road sect. If we go together, we can take care of each other." The other disciples sincerely invited Ning Shu. This was power. Only the strong deserved the respect of others. Chapter 270. These people saw that Ning Shu was very strong, so they wanted to invite Ning Shu to team up with them. In fact, they didn't believe that this trash was so powerful. Ning Shu didn't want to team up with them at all. Although they were disciples of the same sect, these people actually ostracized her in their hearts. Moreover, these people's eyes were flickering when they looked at her, and they couldn't help but scan her body. Lu Qinyang felt that Wei Liangyue should have some treasures on him. Wei Liangyue's father was an elder of the Tiandao sect and had a rich family background. Since he dared to bring such a trash son into the secret realm, he must have some trump cards. Lu Qinyang's eyes flickered as he sincerely said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother Wei, you can only find a limited amount of spirit herbs and spirit fruits by yourself. Why don't we all work together? We can share the harvest later." Ning Shu faintly asked, "What if we don't divide the spoils equally?" Lu Qinyang suddenly choked. He really didn't know how to respond to Ning Shu's words. It was like finding a spirit fruit. How should they divide it? Should they use a knife to cut it open and each person would get a petal? That was too shameful. Moreover, it would hurt the spirit fruit. Ning Shu jumped on the back of the flash-winged eagle and prepared to leave. The few people suddenly became anxious. No matter what, Wei Liangyue dealt with the Ridge Iron Wolf very easily. Moreover, he even scared the ferocious wolf away. If Wei Liangyue left and the Ridge Iron Wolf chased after them, it would be very difficult for them to deal with it. "Junior brother Wei, please don't go." A female disciple's eyes glowed like autumn water. Ning Shu said, "If you leave and the Ridge Iron Wolf comes, what will we do?" Ning Shu very casually said, "Anyway, the spirit fruit isn't for me to eat. The Ridge Iron Wolf won't come looking for me." Everyone was speechless. "Junior brother Wei, I have a spirit fruit that can comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. This spirit fruit is very precious. I will give it to you." Lu Qinyang took out a jade box from his storage bag with a painful expression. When Ning Shu saw Lu Qinyang's expression, he felt that there must be something good inside the box. Otherwise, Lu Qinyang wouldn't look like he was about to cut off his flesh. Ning Shu jumped down from the flash-winged eagle's back. He wanted to take the box, but Lu Qinyang held on to him tightly. Ning Shu grabbed the box with all his strength. Lu Qinyang's face trembled. "Junior martial brother Wei, I hope you like this." Opening the box, Ning Shu saw a snow-white fruit surrounded by a complex rainbow light. Just looking at it for a long time would make one feel dizzy. Ning Shu closed the box and put it in his storage pouch. He smiled and said, "I like it a lot. This thing should be useful to Old Man Wei." Things that could allow one to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth were very precious. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu put away the item, his face twitched. After a long while, Ning Shu said, "Junior martial brother Wei, let's form a team. Of course, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect. Naturally, we have to help each other." Ning Shu understood that Lu Qinyang took out this thing to let her fight the wolf pack. When they heard that Ning Shu was willing to stay, they all let out a sigh of relief. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, the current Wei Liangyue was stronger than them. Due to the many Ridgeback Iron Wolf corpses in the surroundings, the few of them changed locations and prepared to rest. The few of them had been constantly chased by the Ridgeback Iron Wolves, so they had not been able to rest properly. In comparison, Ning Shu's condition was many times better than theirs. Some people went out to hunt iron-teeth rabbits and roast them to replenish their energy. Ning Shu sat beside the flash-winged eagle and meditated on the ground. Lu Qinyang sat beside Ning Shu. He rubbed his nose and wanted to talk to Ning Shu. However, the flash-winged eagle glared at him with a warning look. Lu Qinyang looked at the flash-winged eagle with some bewilderment. He felt that this spirit pet was different from before. It was much stronger. He guessed that Wei Liangyue gave it some spirit fruit to make it stronger. She was really a nouveau riche. She actually gave good things to a spirit pet to eat. Having a powerful father was really willful. Many disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect were very jealous of Wei Liangyue. Others were lucky enough to painstakingly collect cultivation resources, but Wei Liangyue had a father who didn't have any resources. Moreover, she had these resources, but she didn't cultivate seriously. This made others feel like scratching their hearts and lungs. They couldn't wait to change places with Wei Liangyue. What's the matter? Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw Lu Qinyang staring at his spirit pet with a very complicated look. He even had thoughts about his spirit pet. Lu Qinyang's chubby face smiled. He looked very kind and said, I just want to ask you about cultivation. I don't think your cultivation is very high. Why are you so powerful? Ning Shu said, I have great strength. Lu Qinyang was speechless. What kind of answer was this? Junior brother Wei, eat something. A female disciple gave a roasted rabbit to Ning Shu. Ning Shu waved his hand. I've eaten. You guys can eat. The flash-winged eagle looked at the roasted rabbit in the female disciple's hand. Its sharp eyes were fixed on it. Ning Shu took the rabbit and thanked the female disciple. Thank you, senior sister. Ning Shu threw the rabbit to the flash-winged eagle. The flash-winged eagle ate the rabbit. The female disciple Ning Shu smiled and said, Junior brother, your spirit pet is very interesting. Ning Shu said, your spirit pet is also very interesting. I don't have a spirit pet yet. A good one is hard to come by. The female disciple sat next to Ning Shu. The breeze blew her hair and swept it onto Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu felt very itchy and moved to the side. The female disciple didn't care about Ning Shu's movements. Ning Shu asked, actually, you did this on purpose. You pretended to be a good-for-nothing and began to show your talent after you broke off the engagement with Shi. Ning Shu's face was indifferent. He felt that this female disciple was really thinking too much. She was just a good-for-nothing. Why did she have to pretend? If Shi saw that her former fiancé was so outstanding, she would definitely regret it. The female disciple fell into her own fantasy. Ning Shu, so what if she was powerful now? It was useless if she didn't have the looks of a male general. Face was very important. Junior brother Wei, did you get anything in the secret realm? The female disciple looked at Ning Shu and asked, if you have something good, and I have something that you want, we can exchange. Ning Shu looked at the female disciple and asked, what good things did you find? Take them out and let me see if there is anything I need. I will consider exchanging with you. The female disciple smiled stiffly. How can I find good things? It's just some low-level spiritual herbs. I haven't found any spiritual fruits yet. I haven't found a single spiritual fruit yet. Ning Shu nodded and didn't answer. The female disciple said a few more words to Ning Shu and then left with an embarrassed expression. Didn't he just see that Lu Qinyang had given her a spiritual fruit? Now he was thinking about it. Did she really look like a fool? Chapter 271. Ning Shu had a lot of good things in her hands, but that didn't mean that anyone could take things from her. Did she really look like a fool with a lot of money? The disciples were all very tired. They leaned against the tree to sleep or cultivated to replenish their strength. Ning Shu knew that although she was very strong now, it was all thanks to the coiling dragon qi in her body. This qi could change a person's aptitude. To put it more scientifically, it could optimize genes. However, cultivating was like sailing against the current. Moreover, there was an extremely powerful male lead. If she didn't cultivate, she would be killed by him sooner or later. Now Ning Shu understood. Even if she and Shi called off the engagement, Shi's reputation was still damaged. The reputation of a broken engagement was really bad. However, if her ex-fiancé died, it would be different. People would gradually forget about Wei Liangyue's existence. Who would keep thinking about a dead person? Shi wanted to be with Yi Yu. To a certain extent, it could be said that she was a woman serving two men. Even in this world where strength was respected, there were still many restrictions and malice towards women. Therefore, no matter what, she would have to go against the male lead. Ning Shu covered her face. It felt really strange to fight over a woman with a man. Lu Qinyang moved to Ning Shu's side again. Ning Shu asked, Junior Brother Wei, where are we going next? I'm waiting to directly leave the secret realm. Ning Shu asked Lu Qinyang, where are you guys going? Lu Qinyang looked left and right with a very mysterious look. Ning Shu said, you should know that this secret realm is actually a senfu left behind by a powerful cultivator. I know. Ning Shu nodded. Lu Qinyang said again, then you should know that this senfu actually needs to recognize a master. If you can become the master of this senfu, you can dig up all the treasures inside at will. Ning Shu learned from 2333 that this was originally a plane that nurtured life, but it was enslaved by someone. Ning Shu looked a little hesitant. It shouldn't be that easy to refine such a large space. Lu Qinyang looked at Ning Shu and said, Elder Wei didn't tell you about this. In fact, this senfu can recognize a master. As long as you have the jade token, you can become the master of this senfu. Ning Shu really didn't know about this. With her ability, Father Wei just hoped that she could return alive. As for the senfu recognizing her as its master, Father Wei didn't even think about it. How many jade tokens do you have? Ning Shu asked, guessing that Yi Yu had a jade token on him. Lu Qinyang said mysteriously, there are 3 jade plates. You don't know yet, but there is actually a palace in this secret realm. As long as you gather all 3 jade plates, you can open it. Why couldn't he just gather all 7 of the 3 jade tokens to summon the divine dragon? Oh. Ning Shu didn't have any expression, as if he wasn't interested at all. Lu Qinyang was a little anxious. Ning Shu asked, don't you want to know who can get the senfu? Ning Shu said lightly, I can't get it anyway. Do you have a jade token? Junior Brother Wei, you're joking. How can I get something like a jade token? I just want to see the palace in the secret realm. Lu Qinyang revealed his true purpose. He said that he wanted to see, but his heart was restless. In the face of such an amazing adventure, not many people could resist. Lu Qinyang thought that there would be a lot of danger on the way to the palace, and the closer he got to the center, the more powerful spirit beasts and treasures there would be. More than that, he wanted to see the senfu. Ning Shu naturally saw through Lu Qinyang's thoughts. He said, since everyone knows about the senfu, how can you be sure that you can get it? Besides, do you know if the 3 jade tokens are gathered? When he ran over to take a look, he couldn't even get through the door. Junior brother, you still don't know. This year, all 3 jade tokens are gathered. Besides, the secret realm limits the cultivation of the people who enter, so the disciples who come in for the trial can't have high cultivation. Junior brother, let's fight together. Lu Qinyang's voice was bewitching. He wanted to pull Ning Shu to snatch the senfu. Ning Shu hesitated and immediately said, wealth comes from danger. Let's do it. Lu Qinyang immediately patted Ning Shu's shoulder and laughed heartily. If we work together sincerely, our chances of winning will be much higher. Well said, well said. Ning Shu didn't think that she could get the senfu. This should be the male lead's opportunity. If she went, she would just cause trouble. If she could prevent the male lead from getting the senfu, Ning Shu would be very happy. Besides, she still had to take revenge for being hunted down. This time, no matter what, she had to fight with the male lead. It would be best if she could kill him. At the very least, she could injure him and put him at a disadvantage in the senfu. Lu Qinyang told the others about the palace. They all agreed to go to the palace. Even if they couldn't snatch the senfu, there should be other treasures in the palace. There should be a lot of secret treasures in the palace. There were also many treasures on the way. Everyone decided to go to the palace in the center. They all looked at Ning Shu's flash-winged eagle. Ning Shu directly let the flash-winged eagle enter the spirit beast bag. He said lightly, my spirit beast can't carry so many people. Let's walk. If we fly, it won't be good if we miss any treasures on the way. The faces of the disciples didn't look very good. They wanted to say something, but they were worried about Ning Shu's fist. Lu Qinyang smiled and said, "We should walk. It won't be good if we miss any treasures. Junior brother Wei, we don't have to ride the Flash Wind Eagle. Let the two junior sisters do it. It's not good for the two girls to walk over like this," one of the disciples said. The two female disciples looked at Ning Shu with expectant eyes. Ning Shu said lightly, "Since you don't want to go, you can wait for us here. That way, you won't be tired." She couldn't stand these people's righteous attitude. "What did I owe you? Should the whole world be your mother? Should everyone spoil you? If the two of them wait here, something will happen. The spine iron wolf might come back." One of the male disciples frowned and looked at Ning Shu with an unkind expression. "We are a team now. Why are you so selfish?" Ning Shu pointed at his own nose and said in disbelief, "I'm selfish. I don't even know you guys. Why should I give my things to you? I'm still lacking crystals. Give me your crystals." The disciple was stunned speechless. Ning Shu sneered and said, "No matter how cheap you are, I don't have to follow you guys. Don't point fingers at me." Ning Shu turned and walked away quickly. Lu Qinyang quickly caught up with Ning Shu and pulled Ning Shu's arm. Ning Shu immediately shook off Lu Qinyang's hand. "What are you doing? Junior brother Wei, your temper is a bit too big." Lu Qinyang said helplessly, "Don't worry. No one can force you to do anything. However, we are a team. If there is danger, we can still help." Ning Shu arrogantly grunted. Chapter 272. He didn't know what Lu Qinyang said to them, but these people didn't look for trouble with Ning Shu anymore. At most, they just ignored Ning Shu. In the end, they just felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Wei Liangyue was obviously a weak chicken before, but now, he was stronger than them. Moreover, they had to rely on this person everywhere. They were proud sons of heaven in Tiandao sect, but now, they had to be together with a trash. Naturally, their mentality was high and mighty, and they felt that Wei Liangyue should support them. Even if Wei Liangyue had become powerful, the image of a trash was deeply ingrained in their minds. They felt that it was shameful to be together with this trash. Ning Shu looked at these disciples and felt that the most scheming one should be Lu Qinyang, who had a round face and looked approachable. When he needed help, his attitude was especially upright. The other disciples had the arrogance of Tiandao sect's proud sons of heaven and rarely spoke to him. However, Lu Qinyang was different. He spoke very sincerely to others. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have a map to the palace, Ning Shu wouldn't want to go with these people at all. Ning Shu only had a very simple map given to him by Old Man Wei. As for the matter of the palace, it didn't involve him at all. Old Man Wei understood his son's ability very well. Even in his dreams, he didn't think that he would let his son rob the Senfu. The group of people went in the direction of the palace. Along the way, they plucked all the spirit herbs and spirit fruits they encountered. When they encountered good things, these people excluded Ning Shu, but generally, the heavenly treasures were guarded by spirit beasts. These people couldn't beat the spirit beasts themselves, so they immediately took out spirit fruits and gave them to Ning Shu, saying that it was for everyone to share. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and felt drunk. These people were really awkward and pretentious. They wanted someone to help them, but at the same time, they were guarding against him. If they could beat the spirit beasts, they wouldn't share the heavenly treasures with them. If they couldn't beat the spirit beasts, they would immediately give something to Ning Shu and let Ning Shu help them beat the spirit beasts. To put it bluntly, he didn't treat Ning Shu as someone on the same level. Ning Shu took the spirit fruit from Lu Qinyang and put it in his storage bag. He clenched his fist and punched the snake-like spirit beast. This spirit beast's defense was very strong. Lu Qinyang and the others had been fighting for a long time but still couldn't kill it. Ning Shu felt as if he had punched a tire. The snake did not suffer any damage. Ning Shu took out his long sword and used his qi to pierce through the snake's head. Then, Ning Shu used his qi to slash the snake's body from head to tail, exposing its white and smelly snake flesh. Blood splattered everywhere. Ning Shu sliced a snake in half. The flash-winged eagle flew down from the sky and grabbed the snake's body with its claws. Clearly, it was treating the snake as its food. Ugh! When the two female disciples saw such a bloody scene, in addition to the smelly snake blood, they immediately vomited while leaning against a tree. The few male disciples looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of vigilance and scrutiny. Was this still the same trash? How could he be so powerful? The six of them couldn't break through the snake's defense, but Wei Liangyue pierced through the snake's body like he was piercing through paper. It was as if he didn't use any strength at all. They didn't see him use his qi either. Could he really be that strong? Ning Shu wiped the blood off his sword and put it in his storage bag. Lu Qinyang's eyes flickered as he said in surprise, "Junior brother Wei, you are so powerful. How did you get the title of trash? Others are jealous that I have a fiancé like Shihuidi and say that I'm trash and not worthy of her." Ning Shu said indifferently, "When did I admit that I'm trash?" Lu Qinyang sighed. It seemed that everyone said that Wei Liangyue was trash, and then everyone thought that Wei Liangyue was trash. No one knew whether Wei Liangyue was trash or not, but Wei Liangyue's cowardly appearance showed that he was trash. Damn, Lu Qinyang was about to be confused. He felt that Wei Liangyue was really a scheming person. He carried the title of trash for so long and fooled around with women every day. What was he planning? After the two female disciples finished vomiting, their faces were pale. They said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother, next time before you make a move, tell us first." Ning Shu looked at their weak appearance and felt a deep fear in his heart. Damn, she was also a woman. Why didn't she feel anything when facing such a situation? She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Could it be that she stayed in a man's body for so long that even her thoughts had been assimilated? Ning Shu immediately said, "Actually, I also feel disgusted by such a scene." Yes. In order to prove that he was a weak woman, Ning Shu repeatedly emphasized that he was also not used to such a scene. The two female disciples saw Ning Shu's sincere appearance and their expressions became better. One of them even teased Ning Shu, "Junior brother Wei's appearance when he killed the snake was very handsome. Even senior sister was mesmerized by him." Ning Shu, please don't. Along the way, Ning Shu obtained a lot of things. The others also had some gains, but not as much as Ning Shu. For example, some of the spirit beasts were too strong. Ning Shu killed the spirit beasts and took the spirit fruits. He didn't think about sharing them with the others. Afraid of Ning Shu's strength, the others didn't say anything. If they were the ones who killed the spirit beasts, Ning Shu wouldn't take their things. Everyone was at peace. Just when everyone was exhausted, they finally arrived at the palace. Ning Shu looked at the palace. It was quite majestic. There were two huge stone lions at the entrance. They were almost as tall as the door. Moreover, the stone lion carvings were very ferocious and looked very frightening. There were already a lot of people gathered around. The arrival of Ning Shu's group didn't attract much attention. Most people glanced at them indifferently. Lu Qinyang looked at so many people and sighed. Ning Shu said, "It seems that many people have received the news and rushed over to fight for the Senfu." Ning Shu glanced around and didn't see Yi Yu or his harem. Instead, he saw a very beautiful woman. This woman's facial features were very delicate, but she had a pair of peach blossom eyes. When she looked at people, it made people's heart itch, as if there were feathers gently tickling it. If it was a man, his first reaction when he saw this woman would be to have sex with her. Ning Shu's first reaction when he saw this woman was another one of the male lead's women. Charming and affectionate, but deep in her eyes, there was a penetrating coldness. Stop looking. This woman is the chief disciple of the blood-refining sect. She is very powerful and her martial arts are very cruel. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu staring at the woman and quickly said, "Stop looking. If you provoke her, especially a man, you will die miserably." Blood-refining sect. Hearing such a bloody name, it was probably some kind of evil sect. Ning Shu asked, "Who is she?" "You-11." Lu Qinyang whispered to Ning Shu. Chapter 273. Lu Qinyang frowned when he saw Yu-11. His expression was somewhat unsightly. Logically speaking, Yu-11 shouldn't be able to enter the secret realm with her strength. How did she manage to enter? Ning Shu, on the other hand, didn't care about Yu-11's strength. He said indifferently, she must have used something to conceal her strength. She must have hidden her own cultivation. Lu Qinyang felt that his chances of getting into the Senfu had decreased again. Moreover, who knew how many people with high cultivation were mixed in here? How stifling. After that, more people arrived one after another. Ning Shu kept waiting for Yi Yu to arrive. However, there were many people gathered at the entrance of the palace. The male lead didn't come. He estimated that he would only arrive at the end when everyone was looking at him. Chirp chirp. A clear and melodious bird cry sounded. Everyone looked over and saw several people standing on top of a bright red bird. The men were beautiful, and the women were beautiful. They were like immortals descending to the mortal world. Yi Yufeng, who was standing at the very front, was very handsome. On his left and right stood two beauties. One of them was a woman with a veil on her face. Her temperament was even more outstanding, making people want to take off her veil to see just how beautiful she was. Lin Yuanyuan looked at Yi Yu in front of her. She flirted with her hair and narrowed her peach blossom eyes. "Yi Yu, you old thief, eat this young master's fist." Everyone was still immersed in this beautiful scene when a hoarse voice sounded in their ears. They immediately came back to their senses. They felt that this brat really knew how to ruin the atmosphere. Ning Shu's angry roar broke Yi Yu's invisible pretentiousness. Then, he jumped up from the ground and raised his fist to smash Yi Yu. When Yi Yu saw Ning Shu, he was stunned. The ant that he thought was dead was actually still alive. And now, he was actually raising his fist to hit him. It was simply too funny. The sudden appearance of Yi Yu made Shi Huidi and Yan Jiao very surprised. Yi Yu swore that this big bitch was already dead. Ning Shu saw that Yi Yu was just casually clenching his fist, as if he wanted to bump fists with hers. Ning Shu sneered in her heart. She sank her qi into her dantian, and the golden coiling dragon qi in her dantian swam even faster. Her whole body was filled with strength, and she suddenly collided with Yi Yu's fist. Ning Shu's expression suddenly changed, and Yi Yu's arm made a slight cracking sound. Yi Yu's arm was fractured. Yi Yu's expression changed. He had been too careless. He felt as if his fist had collided with black iron. This trash actually had such great strength. Ning Shu withdrew her fist, and directly extended her leg to kick the divine beast below them, directly flipping over the phoenix. The phoenix's body was somewhat uncontrollable, and it spun a little. However, the person on its back was unlucky, and fell down. Yi Yu's expression was gloomy as he flew down with a beauty in his arms. He coldly looked at Ning Shu, but his heart was filled with shock. His physical body was very strong. Aside from cultivating vitality, he had also obtained an ancient body refining secret manual. Yi Yu was very confident in his physical strength, but now, when he exchanged fists with Wei Liangyue, his bones were actually shattered by the opponent's strength, and the opponent was completely fine. Wei Liangyue was so strong. Ning Shu rolled up her sleeves and pointed at Yi Yu. You bastard, you should have chased after this young master. If this young master doesn't teach you a lesson today, you will think this young master is easy to bully. Aren't you dead? Why are you here? Yan Jiao angrily shouted at Ning Shu. Her expression was particularly vexed. You are not a big. How can a big be so powerful? Little girl, if you call me big again, I will really do something to you. Ning Shu glanced at Ning Yanjiao, speaking of which, you are quite pretty as a little chili pepper. You are shameless. Yan Jiao pointed her whip at Ning Shu. She was so angry that her body was trembling. Yi Yu extended his hand in front of Yan Jiao, and coldly looked at Ning Shu. His eyes were filled with sharp killing intent, and he indifferently said, Wei Liangyue, what's the point of bullying a woman? Yi Yu, who do you think you are? At this time, you still need a woman to stand up for you. Ning Shu retorted sarcastically. Chirp chirp. The divine beast phoenix that was kicked by Ning Shu rushed towards Ning Shu. Its entire body was covered in scorching flames. Obviously, it was bearing a grudge against Ning Shu for kicking Ning Shu. When Ning Shu saw the phoenix rushing towards him, he didn't dodge. Instead, he directly stretched out his fist to meet it head-on. Ning Shu wanted to know where the limit of his strength was. When his fist landed on the phoenix's head, Ning Shu felt as if he had hit a piece of scorching in hard iron. Although Ning Shu's hand was burned by the phoenix's flames, the phoenix's head was hit by Ning Shu. It was immediately sent flying. As it flew, it swayed and fell to the ground with a plop. Obviously, it was knocked out by Ning Shu. Little flame. Yi Yu's expression changed. He ran over and kept the divine beast into the spiritual beast pouch. With a face full of killing intent, he looked at Ning Shu and said, Wei Liangyue, you are very good. Thank you for the compliment. This is the reward for chasing after me. Don't think that I am a persimmon that you can pinch as you wish. You want to kill me to please my woman? Keep dreaming. As Ning Shu spoke, he blew on his hand. His hand was burned by the phoenix's flames. Sure enough, Yi Yu's spirit pets were all tough bones. After taking a punch from her, Yi Yu was fine. The phoenix only fainted. Seeing how powerful Ning Shu was, Yan Jiao was so shocked that her mouth opened wide. She pointed at Ning Shu and said, Are you still Wei Liangyue, the big? Senior sister, is he Wei Liangyue? Yan Jiao turned to look at Shi Huidi and asked. Wei Liangyue gave her an unreal feeling as if a toad had turned into a prince. Shi Huidi glanced at Ning Shu with a complicated expression and said indifferently, I am not familiar with him. Shi Huidi was speaking the truth. Although she was engaged to Wei Liangyue, they didn't have any interactions. Moreover, Shi Huidi knew that her fiancé was that kind of person. She even intentionally avoided meeting him. Therefore, she was basically a stranger to Wei Liangyue. Yan Jiao glared at Ning Shu with hatred. She thought that this person was so powerful and deliberately played with her at the entrance of the secret realm. He was really a big. Since you want to fight, I will accompany you. I want to see how powerful you are. Yi Yu had a deep fear of this second-generation hedonistic son of rich parents. Xiaohua had actually suffered a loss in his hands. Little Flame was too careless. If it spat out the phoenix's true flames at the beginning, it would definitely burn him into charcoal. Ning Shu raised his hand and said loudly, I am injured now. Does the handsome Yi Yu want to take advantage of me? Aren't you afraid of losing face in front of so many beauties? Yi Yu looked at Ning Shu coldly. His eyes were calm. There was no longer any killing intent and anger. In his heart, he had already treated this person as an enemy on the same level. They were destined to be enemies because of Shi Huidi. Chapter 274. Right now, Yi Yu hated Wei Liangyue even more than before. In the past, Wei Liangyue was just a good-for-nothing. But now, Wei Liangyue was very powerful. Yi Yu was worried that Shi Huidi would regret her decision. Yi Yu knew that Shi Huidi was an incomparably cold woman. This kind of woman was extremely attractive to men. Yi Yu liked Shi Huidi a lot. If Shi Huidi wanted to be with Wei Liangyue, Yi Yu wouldn't be able to tolerate it. No man would be able to tolerate the woman they liked being under another man's body. Therefore, he had to settle things with Wei Liangyue. It would be best if he could kill Wei Liangyue. I don't care what you guys want. Yu Wenwen, who was watching the battle from the side, walked over. Her posture was graceful and enchanting. When she walked over, she brought along a fragrance that was intoxicating. Yu Wenwen walked in front of Yi Yu. She stretched out her jade-white fingers. Her fingers were painted with a bright red color, which made her skin look even fairer. She pointed at Yi Yu seductively. I have a premonition that the jade token is on you. Take it out. Entering the palace is more important. Now that we have nothing, what can we gain from fighting? Yi Yu reached out and grabbed Yu Wenwen's fingers. He revealed a smile, which made his face look even more handsome. Yu Wenwen, whose fingers were grabbed, was startled. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but this man grabbed it tightly. Yu Wenwen was incomparably angry. There had never been a man so daring to get close to her and even grab her hand like this. Let go. Yu Wenwen snorted coldly. However, there was a charming and enchanting smile on her face. There seemed to be venom surging in the depths of her eyes. Yi Yu smiled indifferently. It was really challenging to subdue this kind of poisonous beauty. What if I don't let go? It's fine if you don't let go. I will make you beg for death. Yu Wenwen smiled exceptionally brightly. Ning Shu, now, he threw her aside and flirted with another woman in front of his own harem. She wondered how Shi Huidi and Yan Jiao felt now. When Yan Jiao and little Hunyo saw this scene, they pouted and stomped their feet. Although they were a little jealous, they weren't really angry or sad. Shi Huidi was still cold and cheerless, as if she didn't feel anything about this scene. Ning Shu realized that as a woman, she couldn't understand what these women were thinking. Yi Yu and Yu Wenwen were very close to each other. It felt as if their ears were rubbing against each other. Sensing Yi Yu's manly aura, Yu Wenwen panicked for a moment. She completely forgot that she was an expert and didn't know how to resist. Yi Yu smiled indifferently and let go of Yu Wenwen's finger. He took out a spotlessly white rectangular jade tablet from his storage pouch. If you are looking for this thing, I happen to have it. Ning Shu stared with wide eyes at Yi Yu flirting with a girl. As expected, appearance was very important. If Yi Yu was ugly, Yu Wenwen would have beaten him to death long ago. How could they still be so flirtatious? Yu Wenwen's face was a little red. She glared at Yi Yu, then asked the surrounding people, 2 jade tablets have already appeared. Who has the other jade tablet? Everyone looked at each other. Finally, a man in a long robe stood out, holding an identical jade tablet in his hand. Now that 3 jade tablets had appeared, they only had to wait for the palace to open. The atmosphere instantly became tense. The 3 people holding the jade tablets stood at the entrance of the palace and placed the jade tablets in a special mechanism. The disciples of Tiandao's sect all followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu's strength had shocked all the disciples of Tiandao's sect. Until now, they still had a look of disbelief on their faces. Junior brother Wei, let's go in together. The more people there are, the more we can take care of each other. Lu Qinyang said to Ning Shu, his eyes staring at the entrance of the palace without blinking. Ning Shu didn't speak. His eyes were fixed on the 2 huge and ferocious stone lions. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but Ning Shu actually saw the eyes of the stone lions move. It seemed like they were about to come to life and had a strong aura. The heavy door of the palace slowly opened. Yi Yu, You won one, and the man in a long robe took the jade tablets and quickly rushed into the palace. When everyone saw the three of them enter, they also rushed inside. Just as they rushed to the entrance, a stone lion actually raised its foot and stomped on them. The alert people immediately dodged, but those who couldn't dodge in time were trampled into meat paste by the stone lion. Even the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The others suddenly stopped and looked at the stone lion that was as tall as the palace. Their eyes revealed a look of horror. Ning Shu let out a long breath. Fortunately, he was alert and didn't rush inside. The stone lion ignored the three people who had the jade tablets. Obviously, only those who had the jade tablets could enter the palace. With such two large stone lions guarding, it seemed that it was very difficult to enter the palace. Even if they entered, it would be too late. This. Lu Qinyang was speechless. Before, he wanted to compete for the Senfu, but now he found that he didn't even have the qualifications to compete for the Senfu. It was really a pain in the ass. Ning Shu was not in a hurry. There were many people with high cultivation in the crowd. Faced with such a great temptation like the Senfu, they had to give it a try. Sure enough, it didn't take long for someone to attack the stone lions. But the stone lions were really too big. Compared to them, people were as big as birds. The stone lions dutifully blocked the people who wanted to enter. Two stone lions blocked the entrance of the palace, making it impossible for people to enter. Damn it! Lu Qinyang was very annoyed. Ning Shu saw that so many people couldn't do anything to the stone lions. She had to go in. Otherwise, Yi Yu would definitely succeed. With the Senfu as his trump card, and the treasures and resources in this space, Yi Yu would be even more difficult to deal with in the future. Yi Yu, who was already powerful, could kill even gods and Buddhas who stood in his way. Ning Shu flew onto the stone lion's head. The stone lion immediately went berserk, but its stiff body was unable to move Ning Shu. Ning Shu tried to push the stone lion down, but the stone lion was very heavy. Ning Shu only managed to move it slightly. When the others saw Ning Shu's actions, they all flew onto the stone lion's head and worked together to push the stone lion down. Ning Shu, who had no other choice, took out a thumb-sized spirit marrow crystal from her storage bag and swallowed it. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of spiritual energy swept through her body, causing Ning Shu's body to swell. In the next second, it seemed like it would burst out of her body. The golden coiling dragon energy in her dantian began to absorb the terrifying amount of spiritual energy, as if it could absorb an endless amount of spiritual energy. Ning Shu shouted and used her energy to push the stone lion to the ground. The stone lion hit the ground with a bang, and even the palace trembled. The stone lion that was pushed to the ground moved its limbs, but it couldn't stand up on its own. Ning Shu flew onto the head of another stone lion. When the others saw Ning Shu coming over, they immediately moved aside. It was so fierce that it was practically a beast in human form. Chapter 275. Ning Shu circulated her dantian, kicked over the huge stone lion, and rushed into the palace. The others rushed into the palace like a swarm of bees. As soon as Ning Shu entered the palace, she was dumbfounded. There were many entrances in front of her, and she didn't know which one to enter. When everyone came in, they frowned when they saw so many entrances. Lu Qinyang moved to Ning Shu's side and asked, "Which one should we take?" "Why are you asking me?" "I don't know either." "Just pick one." Ning Shu also frowned. She didn't know how Yi Yu was doing. She was afraid that Yi Yu was about to refine the Senfu. Many people who were proficient in array formations began to calculate which entrance to enter from. Ning Shu was anxious. She closed her eyes and pointed with her finger. When she opened her eyes and saw the finger pointing at the entrance, she would enter from that entrance. When the others saw Ning Shu's willful behavior, they all shook their heads. When Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu leave, he had no choice but to find an entrance and enter. The other Tiandao sect disciples followed behind him. Ning Shu rushed into the entrance, and many spirit beasts pounced on her. Ning Shu's fists smashed on the bodies of these spirit beasts. The spirit beasts were defeated by her and turned into heaven and earth Yuan Qi. Then, they turned into spirit beasts. There was an endless number of them, and she couldn't kill them all. Although these spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth Yuan Qi didn't cause much damage to Ning Shu, they slowed her down. Ning Shu waved her fists and rushed inside. The endless spirit beasts rushed towards her. Ning Shu coldly snorted and took out her long sword. These spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth Yuan Qi were defeated by the tip of Ning Shu's sword. In the end, they finally made it through the first stage, only to be met with another stone golem formation. Every stone golem held a spear in their hands. Although their movements looked slow, they were extremely fast. Ning Shu stabbed at them. Ning Shu kicked the stone man to pieces, picked up the spear on the ground, and hit the stone men one by one, smashing the stone men into pieces. These stone men blocked Ning Shu from passing through the palace. Ning Shu stepped on the heads of these stone men and quickly flew to the other side. If they continued fighting like this, they would die of exhaustion sooner or later. When Ning Shu exited the stone man's array, he suddenly heard a cry. It was a cry of endless pain, as if it had been subjected to some inhumane torture. This voice belonged to a man. Could something have happened to Yi Yu? Ning Shu quickened his pace and prepared to run in the direction of the sound, but he was stopped. The palace was filled with snakes of all sizes and colors. On the ground, on the pillars, there were snakes everywhere. Many snakes were entangled together, and there was no place to step in the entire palace. The air was filled with the hissing of snakes sticking out their tongues, and it was filled with an incomparably fishy smell. Ning Shu's face turned green, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. His trypophobia was acting up. These snakes had been locked in this palace, and they kept breeding. There were more and more of them, and it was simply a snake cave. Fuck, this is too disgusting. When the snakes sensed that an unfamiliar creature had entered the palace, they surged towards Ning Shu. With so many snakes crawling over together, Ning Shu's hair stood on end. It was too fucking terrifying. Ning Shu didn't want to be entangled with these snakes at all. Furthermore, the wailing sound was starting to weaken, and he didn't know what was going on. Ning Shu took out her long sword and killed the snakes that wanted to entangle her. Then she took out some poison from her storage bag and sprinkled it on the bodies of the snakes. As soon as the poison powder came into contact with the snakes, their bodies turned over and died. Although these snakes were dead, they were devoured by the other snakes. These snakes didn't even have time to deal with Ning Shu. They first swallowed the dead snakes, but after swallowing the poisoned snakes, they stopped breathing and were quickly devoured by other snakes. Ning Shu took out the poison from his storage bag. He covered his nose and sprinkled the powder everywhere. The snakes that came into contact with the poison all turned over and gradually died. Ning Shu hurriedly ran. The room was filled with snakes, and it was terrifying to look at. Before Ning Shu could escape, something thick like a tail swept towards him. Ning Shu quickly dodged the attack. He focused his eyes and saw that there was a snake hidden in the shadows. This snake was very large, and its body was as thick as a man's waist. The snake's body was almost 2 feet tall. The snake's body was pitch black, but its eyes were red. It looked down at Ning Shu and stuck out its forked tongue, confronting Ning Shu. Ning Shu took a deep breath. Immediately, a fishy smell spread through his nose to his lungs. He wanted to take a deep breath, but all he smelled was the stench. He almost vomited. Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore. It was too smelly, too disgusting. Ning Shu took the initiative to attack. He held a long sword in his hand and stabbed the tip of the sword towards the snake's head. The giant snake used its strong and powerful tail to sweep towards Ning Shu. Ning Shu dodged the tail and raised his long sword to stab at the snake's head. The giant snake spat out red-hot lava. Ning Shu quickly dodged, but his clothes were still burned. Ning Shu saw that his skin was red and swollen. He quickly threw the sword in his hand at the snake's head. The sharp spirit artifact sword, coupled with Ning Shu's strength, directly pierced through the snake's head. Smelly blood splattered. The giant snake frantically struggled. Its huge body broke the pillars. The little snakes in the palace seemed to be sticking out their forked tongues. They seemed to have sensed something that made them excited. They actually swarmed towards the giant snake. The giant snake was covered with little snakes. These little snakes actually wanted to devour the giant snake. Ning Shu's scalp exploded. Goosebumps appeared all over his body. He didn't even want his long sword. He turned around and ran. Was the purpose of these snakes guarding the checkpoint to disgust people? Ning Shu rushed out of the snake palace and entered a spacious palace. There were 3 people in the palace. Ning Shu saw Yi Yu in front of Yu-11. Not far away, a man in a green robe was lying on the ground. His whole body was spasming. He was howling in grief. His body was twitching at an unnatural angle. The man's facial features were distorted. His eyes, nose, and lips were bleeding. He was bleeding from all 7 orifices. Ao ao ao. The man howled in pain. Finally, his body twitched violently. His eyes were wide open. He was no longer breathing. Why did he see such a scene as soon as he entered? Ning Shu was disappointed that the one who died wasn't Yi Yu. There were only 3 people with jade tokens in this palace. Other than Ning Shu, no one else had entered. Seeing the man die, Yu-11's face turned pale. Clearly, seeing someone die in such a painful manner in front of her made Yu-11 very afraid. She couldn't help but want to get closer to Yi Yu. Yi Yu turned his head and saw Ning Shu. His pupils shrank. He said coldly, "You actually came in." Ning Shu calmly brushed his hair aside and said, "You came in, why can't I?" Ning Shu looked at the man on the ground in pain. It seems that the Senfu isn't that easy to get. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.